this is The Sword and the Pen, and this is the live stream. I haven't done one in a while, so there may be some technical issues. If there are any, please let me know about them as quickly as possible in the text. Okay, it sounds like there were some loud noises. I don't know what that was. Was that me speaking, or was that the animation or whatever that I had going on there? And there's this delay that really sucks. But um, anyway, we're gonna go over episodes 3 and 4 of season 3. I have actually discovered that yes, everybody can hear me. How are we today? I'm doing good. Thank you, Thumb Marilyn. Demigorg, I see you there too. Oh, it was your settings that were bad. Okay, at least I'm glad it wasn't mine. Thumb Marilyn, just wanted to make sure that I got you in there. Andrew Lund, hello. Spaced Oyster, no technical difficulty so far. Summit says, looks fine so far. Nice. Unless there's supposed to be something in all that black space. No. Okay, so the black space. Oh, hello, Mule. You're from over at Prophet of the Dragon. Good to see you here. I know that you're really you're really good at memes. So I would love to see more of those. I've only just seen the one that happened during the last live stream I commented on. Is hilarious. We had the KKK horse. Prater's Inn, I think that's how you say it. Episode 3 and 4, especially 4, were a big jump up. Episode 4 is probably the best episode they've done, and with little bad to say about it. Yeah, they were definitely a lot better, and it helped that they actually went along with the books. Like, following the book somehow makes the show better, which is amazing. Let's see. Donald Gooch says, I hate episode 3 of season 3 so much. You might hate it more than I do. The main annoyances that I had is that the people who needed the most attention were not getting it. We were like, let's talk about Egwene, or let's talk about Alana, instead of Perrin and Rand, who were the most important characters in the locations that they were at. Luke at H says, hi Amber. Hey Luke, how's it going? Ghosty Ghost, you're brave for watching this show. I don't think I'm brave. I think I just have endurance. I have gotten very good in my life over enduring things that are not fun. Robert Cabus says episode 4 was the closest, but there was still plenty of bad. Yes. Andrew Lund says, crazy, right? Follow the book and produce a good episode. I would never have thought of that myself. It's like, it seems like they got the best reviews for episode 4 from both sides of the audience, the people who love the show and the people who are really hating the show. Everybody thought that was the best. So wouldn't you want to do whatever it is that you did in episode 4 consistently? I'm going to read just a couple more and then I want to talk. Let's see. Mule says, wait, are we supposed to watch the episodes? You'll see. Ghosty Ghost, they missed episode 4 so hard without Matt and Roydion. Where is Varen in the Two Rivers? Who knows? Clearing the Fog, hey, how's it going? The glass columns in Roydion were fantastic. Avienda fighting Rand and Lan were pretty cringe. Yeah, I would have had less of a problem with it if they weren't like doing this whole the girl boss thing. I don't mind a girl who can fight, but there's no way in hell she's a match for somebody like Lan. I mean, even just dry looking at, you've got somebody who's trained their whole life and is an adult man almost twice the size as this young woman who, even if she's been fighting her whole life, she's not lived as long a life as he has. He's going to be bigger, stronger, and have way more skill than she would. She'll have speed, but that's going to be it. All right, so quick pause before I keep reading everything. I just wanted to let everybody know I have discovered that I can stream the episodes if I flip the image and play them at 4 times speed. So I've prepared to loop episode 3 and 4 in that blank space there, and we can talk about the scenes as they are happening. They come out to about 15 minutes each, so if we cycle through it a few times, that's fine, or I can pause if we need to. But the 4 times speed seems to be the sweet spot, and flipping the image definitely, it's that little bit of insurance that I've kind of added to it. Let me know if the sound is weird. I'm not going to play the sound for the episode. If I do, it'll be really low because it's 4 times speed, so it sounds ridiculous. Let's see, a couple more messages here. Spaced Oyster. Oh, he's talking to Mule. Sven Dragon. This show is so far off course, and so many are excited when they finally throw a book crumb. I just don't know who is listening to the reviews. Who is up there in the studios listening to the reaction of the audience. I feel like episode 4 should have been a big wake up call for everybody. But at this point, the show, in my opinion, is too late to bring back on course. The only way you could do it is if you pretend that seasons 1, 2, and 3 did not happen. It's done way too much to alter the course of the characters that you have to force them onto the right path, which won't feel natural. Or you just have to pretend that the first 3 seasons didn't happen, like, and just say, you know what, we're going to start off season 4 with book 5. Well, yeah, I guess book 5-ish. Who knows? All right, couple more. Blue Feather Ephemera. Amber, I appreciate your honesty among all the Wheel of Time noise on YouTube. Well, thank you. I try to, you know what, there's stuff. I know that there's a lot of people in my comments that really despise this as an adaptation of Wheel of Time. But if you take away Wheel of Time, the books, and just look at this as a show, it's still bad. But it does have a lot of good things in it. It's just not enough good to make this a really good show. And it's unfortunate because it's in the writing where the biggest flaws are. And that's like the foundation of your whole show. I think episode 4 was proof that they can do something really spectacular if they follow the source material. So it wouldn't be that hard to adapt this. I know everybody says like, oh, it's impossible to adapt. No, you have to do a lot of cutting. Yes. But if you didn't spend so much time on unimportant characters, there would be plenty of time to adapt this. Somebody was commenting saying, you know, you could never adapt this, it's way too much. And I brought up the numbers, and the difference between the adaptation for Lord of the Rings and the first couple of seasons of the Wheel of Time show, it's not that big a difference. It's like 20% longer, 20% more text to adapt in Wheel of Time per minute than there is of the Lord of the Rings that got into the Peter Jackson movies, the theatrical versions, which were passable. The theatrical versions were passable. But they've spent so much time, like I said, on things that just are not important to the main plot. Like, you cannot spend all this time on characters who are not crucial to the most important characters in their arcs, and they made that mistake from minute 1 in season 1. And what are you gonna do? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Let me see, I've got a couple more messages here. Prater's in. I mean, given how constrained they are by the 2 shitty seasons they did already, I thought episode 4 was good. Yeah, it was good compared to all the other episodes they've done. But I said this in my Discord. So after I watched episode 4, I got into my Discord and people really liked it, and I didn't want to be the one to throw in like the negative thing there, but it became really apparent to me that episode 4 was an episode that called for the things that the show writers do on accident and that are not good. So the show writers do a lot of telling, and they do a lot of forced plot where they have characters, especially in conversations even, they force them to go places and do things and say things that wouldn't, the action does not naturally bring them there. There's not this gradual progression to the positions where they try to get these characters to. They just kind of force them. And then, of course, there's a ton of telling and exposition just in the dialogue. They do that all the time on accident in their writing. And this was an episode where we cannot spend 5 episodes doing the flashbacks, or not the flashbacks, but, you know, the visions that Rand experiences in Rhuidean, which in the books, it's like several chapters. You cannot do that. So he said, okay, we have to condense this to 1 episode. This is where you say, all right, it's okay for you to do some telling. It's okay for you to quickly move the plot along, to get us to places, to figure out ways to have our characters do things, even though it's going to feel a little bit forced, a little bit pushed, or a little bit rushed. You just got to get them to do these things. And that, it all felt natural, because that's what it was called. That's what was called for in this episode. So we're all going, yay, this is what I wanted to see, because this was what was in the book. But the problems were still the same as all the rest of the episodes. It's just that the things that the writers usually do on accident are things that should have been allowed for this one episode. If all the other episodes were spectacular and then we had this episode, it would still be not good writing, but we would be like, it's okay because we understand you had to fudge it a little bit to get through this. I'm sure a really, really talented writer could get through this and not have that problem, but I still think it would have taken a lot more screen time for that to happen. We got a couple of super chats in here. Where are they? I can't really see them in this thing. What? Okay, here we go. They highlighted. I'm so not used to doing this. So we got Okie Native for $5. Thank you so much. This is the good things are. Can you see that on the screen? It looks really dark for me. I hope that's not dark on your end, but this is what it says. The good things are set and costume design. Some other things, sadly, not the writing. No attempt at adapting the work of far more talented writers. It's really unfortunate, yeah, but that does seem to be the case, that we are getting a lot of extra stuff that's not in the books and not important to the main story. So the only thing I can conclude is that this is what the writers wanted to do because it's their creation. So this is evidence of not honoring the source material. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. What else could it be? You're doing your own thing that is taking away from the important stuff, like the Perrin stuff. Oh my gosh, we should have done so much more with Perrin in the Two Rivers in episode 3, which I just watched again today. Anyway, okay, keep going. Let's see. Donald Gooch says, Demigod, yes, but even worse. Stephen Irie or Ire? I'm not sure how to say that. The whole damn Warder funeral scene in season 1 was horrible. Yeah, a lot of people did not like that. It was certainly not in the character of Lan from the books, but have they been consistent with his character in the show so far, making him somebody who's more emotional? Yes. It's just unfortunate it is not Lan. They've really changed his character in that respect. Let's see. Blue Feather Ephemera says, slightly off topic, but did you watch the Flight from Shadow Wheel of Time fan film? If so, share your 10-second take, please. I did not watch it. Let's see. That Flight from Shadow was the one where they do the lightning in the top room. I put it aside and I said, I'm gonna watch this, and I didn't. I feel like such an idiot. I should have totally done that. Mr. Benair, thank you so much. $5. All right. Do you think Morgase Tracond just had surgery, therefore she had a medieval cone? I don't know. Oh my god. What a goofy thing to say. She could not feed herself. I don't know if you noticed, but it was like sticking out so far in the front that she would have to feed herself like this. So somebody would have to feed her. Otherwise, it's all just for show. It's just ceremonial. But which I could see. She wasn't wearing it when she went to Elaine's room. So maybe that is what it was for. It was just for show. That can be the case. Let's see. Oh, here's one I haven't seen before. Kim Saunders. Hello, welcome. They fundamentally misunderstood the Aiel in those scenes. I think if you're talking... Oh, you mean the scenes of the flashback. Yeah, I unfortunately don't remember the nuances of those scenes that would make me come to the conclusion that like they've destroyed the Aiel. So for me, it was like, I remember this for the most part. It was like this in the book. I was judging a lot on what am I seeing just by itself. You know, most of my critiques of this show are not even related to the books at all. I do occasionally pull up the books and say, okay, they did this in the book and that was more interesting or exciting, or that made this character seem more noble. You get the idea. But this show on its own suffers from so many issues regardless of the books that it takes up the majority of my critique. Joshua Templeton, people are still claiming that Nynaeve did not die and get resurrected by the power of love, destroying the power book scene of Rand trying to bring the girl back to life. Yeah, that is immediately my first, like, if she wasn't dead, what was she? And how did she resurrect? Did she resurrect of her own accord, or did Egwene resurrect her? because she was definitely dead. I'm sorry. She had like craters for eye sockets. Like she was dead. She was totally burned out. It makes no sense. All right, I'm gonna start playing episode 3. And let's see. All right. I think I've got the sound off, but there it is. You guys can see that. That is the cold open of episode 3. I want to know what you guys think about this. We do not see Sammael except for this scene and then his death scene. Like if you've seen episode 6, I think that's the only other time that we see Sammael. And I feel like they just completely neglected to build him up as any kind of villain we should be scared of. Like, so Rand taking him out was not that impressive because I've never seen him do anything that intimidated me. We literally just see him talking in a cellar to Ravine and Lanfear, and then we see him get his butt handed to him. First he gets speared by Avienda, and then he gets lightning bolted by Rand. So... Oh, got another super chat here. I want to make sure I get everybody. I'm not so good with keeping up with the text messages, but I'm going to do my best here. Thumb Marilyn says, you might say all the unnecessary changes and insertions are down to the arrogance of the writers. Yeah, I think that's it. They feel that they have something very... They feel that what they have to add to this is going to be valuable to the audience. And that is completely disregarding the fact that you're doing an adaptation of somebody else's work. You are not here to represent yourself as a writer. You are here to represent Robert Jordan. And when you do your own thing with characters that are not important, especially if you're having them do things that they were not doing in the books, it's you. You are saying my stuff is so important, it has to be here. If you wanted to make your own show about certain characters, I mentioned this in my review of episode 3, which hasn't come out yet. I only filmed half of it so far. It was just so long doing the Perrin stuff. I talk about something that I mentioned over on Prophet of the Dragon on his live stream, which was that if they wanted to do their own spin-off sort of the Wheel of Time story, that would have been totally acceptable, and they could have done a lot creatively with it. So if you wanted to tell the story of Moiraine and have her be your central character, fine. But then the story is not about Rand, it is not about Egwene, it is not about anybody except her. She is the focal character, and the other characters are the people that she is trying to navigate her life around and figure out and tell her journey. She's on her way she's trying to find the chosen one. And then she finds him and she's trying to push him in the direction that she thinks he needs to go. But then she has to come to the realization that this is not going to work, and he's going to push me away if I don't basically pledge myself to him. And so she has to have that humility to pledge herself to him. And then she discovers all this sacrifice that I've made in my life is not going to have been, it's been not a waste, but it's like, I did all of this, and in the end, I'm not even going to be there for the final battle. Like, I'm not going to be there for the end. And she has to come to a realization that I need to sacrifice myself in order to get rid of somebody else who's going to be problematic to Rand, but in order to save him and ensure that he goes on. Like, she has to make this great sacrifice. That by itself could have been a great story. And then if it got enough interest, and you could do a lot creatively with it. You could tell all the things that happened off page in the books and do it on screen, just like how they did with Moiraine and Lan fighting the Trollocs in the Two Rivers. That was a scene I really wanted to see from the books, and they put it on screen. I was like, oh, great. We didn't get to see this in the books. I wanted to see Moiraine and Lan fighting. The first real magical thing we see happen with them, I believe, is when Moiraine turns into a giant and steps over the wall, which we didn't get in the show, which, okay, I mean, I wish we did. But at least they did the fight, and to me, that's the sort of creative liberties you can take. You can stay faithful to the source material, but there's a lot that you can do creatively with your own writing to fill in the holes, essentially. But yeah, if this show were to have taken off, then they could have been like, all right, we've got a good audience. People really liked it. Let's do the story of Rand. And then they could jump in and take over Wheel of Time and do essentially the faithful adaptation of the Wheel of Time. And you wouldn't have to do all the stuff with Moiraine, like all these in-depth explorations of what her conversations off screen were, because you've already done a whole series on that. You got to do the thing you wanted to do. But let's not try to do what we want to do instead of representing the source material. All right, I'm going to read a couple more here. We got Summit says, that one shows up fine. Weird. I don't know what you're talking about there. So, going to skip down a bit. I'm going to have to because you guys are way ahead of me now. I like cheese. Great name. It says they used compulsion to make her wear that goofy thing as a joke. Oh, that would be funny. I could. Why not? Why not? Chris Saunders says, Kim? You must be talking to somebody. Blue Feather Ephemera says, I've not heard others speculate on it this way, but is the Morghese collar supposed to imitate a lion's mane? White Lion of Andor, yada. I don't know, but that would make sense to me. You know, if there's anybody who is really putting everything that they've got into it, it's the costumers. Like they are on their game in every episode. And I'm just gonna not comment on the Tanchico costumes because I think they're hideous. But I'll have to look at them and think to myself, like, is this really a wonderful costume that took a lot of work to construct? Because I haven't paid attention to them because I don't care about them because I think they're gross. But all the other costumes for season 3 have so far, you can see that there is a lot of work that has gone into the construction of these. And whether they work for the show or not, at least they're like, you know what, we're doing everything. Like, we are going to do the best that we can. And so I have to applaud them for that. Let's see. Let's keep going. We got, Robert Cabus says, the fundamental problem with the visions in episode 4 is that they don't really show the Aiel going from pacifist to warriors. They skipped that particular vision. Well, they kind of showed it. They showed, they showed the one where he was, when he went to go save his sister, but they didn't do the one where it was about the Gen Aiel and the Maidens of the Spear is, I believe, the one that was missing. But I feel like we got the idea from that they had killed, and so they recognized they were no longer part of the Aiel because they were no longer following the way of the leaf, but they're going to protect these people now, so they're going to learn how to fight. And, you know, when they raise the dust veil, we see that how that became the tradition. Actually, I didn't have a problem with the way that whole scene played out. It might actually have been my favorite out of all of them. Visually, definitely the one where they're the furthest back one where the boar thing happened was the best visually. But I think as far as my interest in what was happening, that one with the young Aiel who went to go save their sister, that to me was the most interesting. I was the most invested in that one. Donald Gooch says her eyes were black and smoldering. Oh yeah, we're back to Nynaeve dying. Yeah. Okie Native, $5 for a super chat. Thank you so much. I am still attempting to understand the need to make rah-rah girl power in this show in a world that's set as a mostly matriarchal society in the books. I think it's I don't really understand it myself. But it may be the belief that it wasn't enough of a girl power story, which is, it's odd to think that. It was perhaps just wanting to make things even more spectacular than they were in the books. But then when you take it to an extreme where the women are doing things that are magically impossible in this world, like resurrecting Nynaeve, you've taken it too far. Like, I can see making something look visually more spectacular. Like, example, episode 4, seeing the university or whatever it was, the floating sphere, that looked so good. That looked like something from one of the Apple TV productions. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen Foundation or some of the other shows that Apple TV has done, but those are like movie quality special effects in most of Apple TV's shows, and that's what that looked like. So anyway, I'm gonna keep going here. Max, haven't heard from you before. Don't worry, Sammy isn't dead, just resting. Another fake out death. I think he's probably not dead. If he is, he was the most pointless character because he just shows up to talk in a cellar, disappears, and then shows up again to die. And he didn't even kill anybody significant, as far as I can see, because Rand was the one who collapsed the building and killed the little girl. So, anyway, let's see. I like cheese says she was mostly dead, slightly alive. I know what that's going to be. I love The Princess Bride. I've seen it way too many times. Summit. Why be scared of him? Some dust fell on him and he died. Yes, really. Dane Bornhold, Ravine overpowered to the extreme. Yeah, he is. For a second I had to like, which one's the Ravine? Of course, I think of him as Gabriel because he's so nice. Like, I like him. To me, I want him to be the hero of the story because he's so much more pleasant on screen. I have an issue when everything is so grim. Where is Loyal and his chipper attitude? They throw him in occasionally with like one or two little things, but everybody is just so dark and down, and it's moody. It feels like I'm watching an angsty teenager show, which is not what this is supposed to be. You're supposed to grow with these characters. Yes, they are teenagers in the books, but they are written with some respect for the gravity of their situations. Praterson says, to be fair, Robert Jordan has literally said Sammael was a louse and he gave him a louse's anticlimactic death. Okay. Let's see. Mule says, the impressive part was Rand did anything at all after he got up off the floor. I mean, oh yeah, I know. He did do something, but he let everybody around him fight until the very last second. He told everybody to run out, and then he runs out, and then he does something. Great. Stephen Irie, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Sammael is leader in Ilion in the books and is the end antagonist of Crown of Swords, right? You're gonna have to, other people who know the books better than me are gonna have to confirm that. Spaced Oyster, why would the lightning kill Sammy? It wasn't a power rot sword. Good point. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Joshua Fears. Hey, how's it going? Is it possible for this show to get good when the first 2 seasons are so bad? No. I mean, the quality of the writing and everything can improve. Season 4 is remarkably better. It is markedly better than season 2 and season 1, especially season 1. But the only way for it to continue forward and be good is for it to retcon itself, because it has done so many things that put the characters on different trajectories or sets them up for things that they should address, but they're not going to in the source material. So what are you going to do? Well, we have to force them to ignore that stuff and just move on in life. You can only improve on a superficial level, but this is not like Star Trek, where you don't have a continuous arc for your characters where every single episode is building on the next, or the previous. It's building on the previous episode. In Star Trek, it's episodic. One story, another story, another story. Occasionally something major happens to a character, and then we might bring it up once in a while later on. But it doesn't you could skip episodes in a season or even jump from one season to the next, and there's not much change in the characters. They're pretty much the same as they always have been, unless they're writing a character off like Tasha Yar. Okay, gonna go down a bit here. Dave's dude. Show Sammael is the Dragon Reborn Bel-Al, in my opinion. I'm so bad with names. Somebody has to remind me. Bel-Al. I know the name. But I don't remember what. Please connect the dots for me, please. I'm bad with names. I'm good with faces. I'm very good with faces and events. So if they've done something, I'll be like, yes, I remember that. Okay, jumping ahead a bit. I Like Cheese says, it's because they are not fans. They are the show as a gateway. They use the show as a gateway to put their stuff out and don't respect the OG material. Sadly, seemingly true. All right, skipping ahead. Bum, 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 bum. Prater's in. Haven't seen one from you. Show Moiraine has violated the three oaths a bunch of times, yes, most directly at the end of season 2, where she nukes a bunch of Shan-Chan ships that aren't remotely threatening her just to have cool. And she did this thing with the one power super far away from where she was affecting whatever. She was like at least a quarter mile away, wouldn't you say? Maybe more? So how come you don't have other Aes Sedai doing the same thing? Is she the most powerful, or is Suan supposed to be more powerful? Like, I could maybe have forgiven them if they wanted to reveal that she keeps a sangreal with her all the time. But after season 1, when she gave that one to Rand, we didn't see her carrying one around. So what is the explanation? Whatever. Mr. Benair, I like cheese. I agree. Oh, you're talking I like cheese. Sorry. Okay, I gotta skip ahead. Let's see. Clearing the fog. The girl mini fridge. They removed what it means for Rand's broader arc and wasted time introducing her instead of having him learn from the clan chiefs and developing him. Cheap emotional hit. Yeah. It's very odd that the chosen one of these people who is prophesied to divide the people and possibly kill a whole bunch of them has showed up, and nobody talks to him. No leader sits down and like, hey, we need to discuss this. He just strolls into town and then runs off to go play with a little girl. It's so bizarre to me that reaction, the people meeting their Karn, was not a bigger issue to all of the adults in this town, or in this whatever you would call it, wherever these people are living. They're just like, whatever. I'm sorry, it's weird. It's a very odd choice. It just means that they felt like it's not very important. If the characters don't believe it's important, why should we believe that it's important as the audience? All right, I know I'm missing a whole bunch. I'm skipping down. I'm so sorry for all the people that I have to skip your messages. I just know that I'm missing some. Stand Sodonum? I don't know how to say that last name, but that is a cool name. Sodonin? I'd like you to look at the ethnic mix-up of Randland, especially the Aiel in the show. How does the rainbow casting work for you? Well, I've heard the argument that, well, this is supposed to be a post-apocalyptic world where everybody was traveling around once before and everybody was mixing and stuff. The thing is I think it's been 3,000 years, or at least 1,000 years since that happened, and people have localized for a long time. So you're still going to have ethnic differences between localities. So if you've got people who've been living in one mountain area for 1,000 years, and then you go to the desert and you have people living there for 1,000 years, and they're not constantly meeting each other and trading with each other and intermarrying and stuff, they're going to develop very distinct traits physically. So when everybody is like what you described here, the rainbow casting, when you do that, it takes away that realism. And I know I'm gonna get but it's fantasy, it doesn't matter. Robert Jordan is well known for having developed a thorough world and history for this story. And he took the time to develop different races for different localities. This is why the Aiel looked so different from everybody else. This is why people were like, Rand, you look really different. And why when people saw Elaine, they were like, yeah, she's got red hair and her family does. It's just odd. It's not respecting what Robert Jordan did, because he was mimicking reality with this. He was showing what would really happen. So like, let's say everybody here on Earth, we get to a point where there is a perfect blend all over the world. Just a perfect blend. And we maintain that continuous blending. We would all eventually kind of look like each other. There'd be the occasional pop out of somebody who has really unique traits. This is why we have people who have like albinism show up, or why we have, you've got a family of people who are white and suddenly somebody who's black, and like, what the heck? And you go, actually, if you go back enough generations, there was somebody who was black and part of this family, and that gene just for some reason didn't pop up until this particular it would happen like that. It would be sporadic that you would have somebody with unique characteristics that pops up. But if we were to put everybody on different continents and then say, okay, everybody's isolated, no more trade, or medieval style trade, like, you only travel by horse, if at all, people won't travel as much. So you're going to have people getting married to and having babies with people in their locality. So all the traits of this locality are going to be the ones that are passed on more frequently. And depending on where they live, certain traits are going to do better than others. So I actually disagree with Robert Jordan having the Aiel being basically, these tall, light-skinned, red-haired people. I don't think they would do well in the desert, because according to science, people who have a lot more melanin are able to tolerate more sunshine than people who have less melanin in their skin. So to me, that's an inconsistency, but he still took the time to say, nope, this is what people look like who live in the Aiel Waste. This is what people who look like who live in the Two Rivers area. He gave everybody distinct looks and cultures too. He modeled certain cultures in his story after a lot of real world cultures. And yeah, you don't want to blend especially that too much. I do think that they did Tanchico, like, it's definitely different from everywhere else that we have seen, but we haven't seen a whole lot. We've seen Camelin, right? Or is it Kyrian? I can never, those two names always get mixed up in my head. The one where Rand hung out with Lanfear. If only they didn't spend all their time in the slums, or the Foregate. I would have liked to have seen, like, what is the culture of this place? It's supposed to be pretty rich, and all we got of that was the one dinner party and the sister. So anyway, I hope I answered that. Thank you for the $5, Stan. Thank you so much. Just so you guys know, I recently found out that if my money heart thanks button does not appear on my videos, that means that Amazon has claimed that video. And people in my Discord actually know that Amazon claims me sitting in front of my bookshelf more than it claims their own footage. I don't know how to fight it. I'm doing my best to manipulate the footage that I do use, but it's like at a certain point, as long as I can get it up and published, I'm just letting it be published, and I don't care if I'm getting money from it, because it's too much of a fight. I mean, I spend days just getting it unblocked. So if I spend a week on a video, I'm going to spend like 4 days trying to edit it to the point that it lets me publish it, because I'll send it in and they're like, nope, blocked. You're not allowed to put this online. So let's see. Trip, haven't seen you in a while. Overall, they haven't really shown us what's at stake. Lanfear and Moggy are the only ones that seem dangerous. Yeah, yet Moggy is creepy, Lanfear a lovesick stalker. Yeah, I mean, when you have an episode like episode 6, which I felt like was supposed to be a mini climax, you should feel like the villain in that is really dangerous. Instead, I didn't care, because he just shows up. He doesn't demonstrate himself to be any more powerful than a woman Aes Sedai. He's just got this sledgehammer. I'm not even sure what it is. How is that reflective of male channeling? Because we've been told that male channelers are like way more, well, at least in the book, we've been told male channelers are way more powerful than women channelers. So maybe they're not doing that in the show. I don't know. It's possible. Okay. Nick Narkowitz. The costumes frustrate me. Lots of work, but without guidance. The lead designer was under the impression the Forsaken are from the future and said the story was a post-apocalyptic setting. Yeah, whether they fit the show or not is... I kind of have to just shrug it off. When I compliment the costumes, I'm usually complimenting the designs on their own. As in, if I was walking around somewhere and somebody was wearing that, it'd be like, dang, you are wearing one expensive outfit, because I can see that the detail put into this, the construction, it was intricate. CH, the worst thing about the Warhammer was that he was the second sword master. The worst. Oh, he's the second sword master that Rand encountered, and again, no sword use. Well, they didn't bother to train him with sword use until this season, so maybe they felt like he wasn't ready for it. I don't know. Let's see. Amanda says, hello. Hello, Amanda. Cursed Kelpie, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. What was your opinion on Matt fighting the princes in the show? Bad show aside, it was a good scene, I think. Okay, so I can nitpick that scene for its choreography because that's my background in it. But when I watched that the first time, oh, I can also critique the editing because it was so much cutting, and shaky cam. But watching that scene the first time, I was really moved by the music, and they gave it some gravitas because of the music mainly and because of the performance. I know that others will disagree, but I could tell that these guys did a lot of their own stuff in that scene. There was like one or two wide shots where I could tell it wasn't the actors, it was their stunt doubles. But I can tell they put work into that, and I thought that the presentation of it was pretty good. But if I want to nitpick it, I can say, why was only one person fighting Matt at a time when the whole point is he has to beat two people at once? So a quarterstaff will almost always beat a sword. It just will. You've got two sides to it, which means you're going to be twice as quick with it, and it's a lot longer. So it should have been a challenge for him to take on two guys. Like, they should not have tried to attack him if they had know anything about sword fighting. They should not have tried to go after him one at a time. And the majority of that fight was one of them laying on the ground and the other one slowly approaching to fight him. Like, they gave him way too much breathing room. Like, if you gotta get somebody on the run and keep them on the run, and you should have both guys coming at him from different sides. There was some weird coordination between the two guys. It was more like a dance than and I'm talking a lot also about the earlier fight scene that they had in episode 2. That was more like a dance than an actual fight. They had a lot of falling on the ground and tumbling and stuff, but I still had fun with it because to me these were scenes that were less about their actual fighting. But the scene with Matt fighting them, I think that it's passable. It works as a scene that was given gravitas. It works as a scene that was made to be this special thing. How it fits into the context of Matt's arc as an adaptation is totally different, because there are major differences. Like, I think that people who watch the show only probably think that this is Matt attaining special powers because they play the same theme music that comes up when he blows the horn and the heroes of the horn arrive. And I like that music. It's cool. They play that same music when he's like getting into the right headspace for the fight. And I'm going, are they implying that he's like tapping into his past lives and that's why he's good at this? Because I had to be reminded of it. But yeah, I remember he won this fight because he was just good at it. And it was part of the lesson that was given to the other warders, who there weren't any in the show, which is kind of sad. That, yeah, you don't underestimate somebody just because they haven't learned the weapon that you've learned or in the school that you have learned, which is something that martial artists will teach their students. You know, you always hope that there's going to be some fresh meat that comes along to kick the ass of your students so that your students learn what you've been trying to tell them. Like, hey, if somebody comes along and does this to you, you're screwed. So don't do that. And like, ugh. And then finally a student or somebody else comes along and uses exactly what you were warning your students about against them. And it's like, praise the Lord, somebody came along to show them what I've been telling them. And now it means something to them, and they'll hopefully learn from that and move on. But I got sidetracked talking about fencing now for some reason. Let's see. Whitest Harbor. My dad has been watching this show, having read the books. I had to explain the lore, magic system, and story, to which he thought I explained more than the show has done in 3 seasons. Yeah, the show is leaving a lot up to the readers to know, and yet changing so much that if you know the books, you're going to be like, why are they doing this? Isn't that going to mess something up? It's very odd. I cannot for the life of me understand how people who know this I don't even know this source material very well. Like I said, I'm reading casually. I'm not reading this like I'm studying it so that I can do these reviews. This is supposed to be my reflections channel. It's my fun channel where I don't put a lot of work into it. That didn't pan out the way I planned. But I just listen casually for the pleasure of listening to the stories. And half the time I'm doing other stuff while I'm listening to them because I'm not sitting and reading. I just don't have time to do that anymore. Um, and uh, and I'm going like I'm catching that the things they're doing in this show are not just not following what the books did, but they're kind of screwing things up. So it's very confusing. I don't understand how people can say that this is a faithful adaptation when certain things are just not being addressed. And the problem that your dad is having is a big issue. I guarantee people who watch just the show are like, whatever, they don't even, I don't understand what's happening, so they keep watching. So what are they watching for? That is something I wonder. Let's see. Oh, I skipped one here. Nimrogue Gaming. Belal was one of the Forsaken killed at the eye. Oh yeah, that's right. He was one of the two guys. Okay, yeah, sorry. See, I remember the events. I don't remember the names. I'm just like that. Thank you for that, Nimrogue. Let's see. Kevin Seeley. The showrunners are just not good at storytelling. It's really sad, but I think true. Let's see. Oh my gosh, is this how far behind I am? We're at the Belal stuff. Dave Zidude says, Belal is a Forsaken that Moiraine Balefired in the stone at the tier at the end of... No, wait a minute. No real build up for the character, just a quick death. We have some contradicting information here. Somebody maybe has fixed that. In case she sees this, Robert Cabus says, Baelal was the Forsaken at the end of Dragon Reborn, located in Tier Stone. That's kind of what I thought, and he gets blasted by Moiraine, right? Moiraine, this is the one that she takes out, isn't it? Dee-dee-doo. Nimrogue says, yes, Dave is right. I mixed them up. Okay, thank you. Let's see. All Aboard Travel and Cruise. Is this a business, All Aboard Travel and Cruise? Siuan and Moiraine are supposed to be the same in power. Okay. That's always made me wonder, like, what... Because I get the impression from the show that Siuan is the most powerful, but then we get Moiraine doing the stuff at the end of season 2. Arlene M says, why couldn't Rand bring that girl back to life? Nynaeve did several times. Well, Nynaeve came back to life, yes, and we've just had so many potentially lethal wounds, like Leandrin. What, she got right through the chest, like right through them, like she should be dead, but she lived. Anyway, there's a lot. That is such a major inconsistency in this show. I don't know what they're gonna. What excuse do they have? Is there something about Nynaeve that is gonna come out later in the show and they've spoiled it, or I don't know. There is supposed to be something special about her. Like I've picked up on that from the books because she does do things that others are not able to do, or that others are really surprised. Like I didn't think anyone could do that. So maybe she's got something coming up that I haven't read yet. I'm only on book 6. Corey Gray, can you burn out in a circle? I know you can't. Okay, this is a question for people who know the books a lot better than me. Can you burn out in a circle? I know you can't burn out others, but what about the one leading it? You guys will have to answer that. Robert Cabus says, no, it's a fundamental concept of linking that no one woman can be forced to draw more of the power than they can hold. Okay. So does that mean when they are linked at all? So what we saw at the end of season 2 should not have happened at all? My goodness, I'm so far behind in the chat. I feel bad. Let's see if I can get caught up here. Here's somebody I don't recognize. YouTube 4795. Disagree with RJ Blasphemy. Did I disagree with him? What did I disagree with him about? Oh, yeah, with the racial, the Aiel being light-skinned and fair-haired. I mean, well, red hair is a kind of fair hair, I believe. Let's see. Or it falls under that classification. CNH or CH says, the Aiel were specifically out of place in the way they didn't fit in there. Yeah, I guess I understand that. I just think that after 1,000 years of them being out there, there would be some dominant traits that do better than others, and they would be the ones reproducing more frequently and successfully, because people who don't have the survival traits, they'd die. Stephen Irie, or Airy, I'm so sorry about your name. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate all your hard work and reviews. Hopefully some writers view it with an open mind and take some criticism. Hopefully, probably not. a lot of people don't take criticism very well, because when you're writing a story, it's like it's very personal usually. So we were having a discussion about this in my Discord earlier about Robert Jordan's wife was his editor. And so I was like, why didn't she call him out on the whole women folding arms under their breasts so many times? Why was that a thing? Like, shouldn't she have seen that and been like, like that too much? And I thought there's a possibility that there's two things that could have been going on. One, it didn't bother her. I mean, this was her husband, so maybe this is just, she knew this is how he writes. Or two, she did not correct him on this because it's tempting to go easy on people who you have a personal connection with, especially a close personal connection with. People don't tend to take criticism from somebody that they're close to very well because it is seen as like, this is somebody who I usually am vulnerable to, and they still accept me and love me and everything's great. But when you criticize their work, which is kind of like their baby, it's a pure creation from their mind, they may take it as you suck. And it's not meant that way at all. You got to be, when you give your work to be critiqued, you should be ready to accept the negative criticism. As a matter of fact, when you get to a certain level, it's all you want. So I've been part of plenty of writing groups where I get to the point I'm like, I don't care about your praise. Don't tell me what you liked. Just tell me what you didn't like. That's the stuff I want to know because I want to cut to the chase of what I need to improve on. And I think the more experienced you are, the more especially just the more mature you are as a writer. I couldn't say the more yeah, it comes with experiences. You start to get to the point where you're like, I don't really care about the praise. I want to be the best writer I can possibly be. So what was it the dwarf guy in Rings of Power said? Give it to me raw. That's all I care about. Like, just give me the meat, give it to me raw. Like, all I care about is what do you not like about it? What didn't work? So a lot of my critiques, I will be very complimentary in the beginning. And once I feel like, okay, this person is starting to feel more comfortable and I can tell that they just want to improve their writing, I give compliments less and less because I don't want to waste their time. I charge by the word, but in my book, it's by the hour, and I don't want to waste their hours. I want them to get as much out of this as possible. So less time going, ooh, I love this. More like I'm just going to tell them like, yay, or smiley face, and they will know that I liked it. And the times when I'm going to spend time giving a critique is when I'm critiquing, when I'm saying this didn't work and this is why, and this is what you could maybe do to fix it, or you got to think of something different. Let's see, Demigorg. There is no way this show is ever saying male channelers are stronger than female like the books did. Yeah, I don't know if they've said it at all. I don't think they have. The Nerdy Arab. The miscasting of the Aiel is atrocious. Game of Thrones did so well with this, where they had distinctive racial traits in each of the little areas where people were from. And they still had oh my gosh, what was the name of the guy who gave me that message earlier? He had the long last name, Sanadala. I can't remember what your last name was. Anyway, where he was talking about the rainbow casting. They still had a very colorful rainbow. It was just that everybody had their own distinct culture, which is more accurate to a historical setting, which is what Game of Thrones was. And as much as everybody wants to say, oh, but Wheel of Time has, this futuristic past. Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Think about how far back 1,000 years ago. Think about how far back 2,000 years ago. The events of the Boar were 3,000 years ago, weren't they? That's a long time. And since then, they've been living in limited technology, where technology is just not there anymore. It's not available to everybody. I mean, they've been using a horse and cart for at least 1,000 years. So there's no excuse for, it's still going to be everybody travels around and gets around. This is why the Two Rivers didn't feel that isolated. There is something to be said, the value of having a visual aesthetic for each location and giving that to the people who live there as well, saying, no, these people have racial traits that are specific to this locale. Heavyset Media says, the show being a retelling of the Wheel is not the books. Men are not supposed to see female weaves, yes, and women can't see the male ones. This is not happening in the show. Now, I had some people in my Discord saying, actually, the men start realizing that they can sense when the women channel, but I'm not at that part yet. I'm only at the part where Rand can sense something. He's not really able to sense it, but he can sense something is going on. So, but yeah, the women are seeing Rand channel when he channels. The show is pretty explicit about that because people literally look at his hand when he's channeling, or they shout so that the noise of his channeling, which I guess it has noise, they can be heard over that. I guess maybe it could have been the wind, but whatever. I don't know if this is Jesus Neftali or if this is Jesus Neftali, but I'm assuming Jesus. By the profile picture, I'm gonna assume Jesus. The Mat fight is better in the books. A lot of people say that, so I found the audiobook part of the scene and is better in the books. Oh, nice. So you went and listened to, have you watched the show and then decided I want to read this in the books, like you haven't read that part before? You know what? I should go back and listen to it again. There's so many scenes that I want to go back and listen to, and I just do not have the time to go back and do that. I mean, these books are so long, and just finding where those chapters are is sometimes it's an adventure. Dick Narkowitz. Oh, that's not for me. J.S. Brad's 1. In the books, the boys didn't know either. The boys didn't know either. I must have missed something there. Seraphim Mihai. I hope I said that right. I see good sense here, but I really don't understand why you still watch this monstrosity. Well, the point of my channel is to look at, I especially love looking at adaptations because it's like seeing a draft too. So in my line of work, I typically see only one draft and then if it gets published. But sadly, most people who send out their work to get a developmental edit especially, they don't continue to try to like get published. Yeah, I've got some published authors to my name, but it's very few compared to how many I see, like maybe 10% less than that. But so, okay, I really don't understand why you still watch it. So yeah, so I like seeing the adaptation because it should be an opportunity for the writers of the show to improve upon what the books did. And before you say, you can't improve it, there was an opportunity for the relationships like Perrin and Fail, and then Lan and Nynaeve. All of these relationships could have been improved because he didn't do the greatest job with them in the books. And they can carry a lot of weight in the show. Romance is an entire genre. It's actually the #1 genre, I believe, in literature, like significantly so. But they could have improved on this just with a few little adjustments, not major ones, but they didn't. They gave them more screen time than they had page time, and somehow made it worse. It's sad. But yeah, so that's why I like doing the examination, because you get to see that. So like in Shadow and Bone, because I did this for Shadow and Bone seasons 1 and 2, they only had 2 seasons, and they actually improved stuff. Like season 1 was better than the books in many, many ways. So I like looking at that and going, ooh, this is why that worked, and explaining that and talking about that. And I think it helps people who are writing to see a before and after and understand how that worked and why, because then it helps you to develop like, oh, maybe if I have a character who's doing something similar or I'm in a similar predicament, I can possibly experiment with this idea. Maybe it'll open up some new ideas for me. That's why I like doing this. It's sad I really don't enjoy this show, but whatever. Big Snack. Whoa, that is a big snack. Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Well, Big Snack, thank you for that. Very generous of you. And seriously, I think this will actually help me. I was trying to figure out if I can afford to do StreamYard, but it's like $45 a month. And I'm like, that's way out of my budget at the moment. So thank you. Something like this would pay for, well, at this point I would have enough for the month. So gosh, thank you so much. Robert Cabus, $10. Thank you. As someone who played a horned instrument, that monstrosity is not a horn. I feel like that was supposed to be a stand-in prop and they forgot to add the real prop in the final cut. It's certainly bizarre looking. I think they were trying to do something really unique looking and it just fell flat. It does not look like a horn. It looks really bizarre. They could have done something that looked so elegant and cool and or they could have done something classical and made it look like it was nothing special, but it is because it's the Horn of Valir. Instead, you got something weird that was also sparkly. So, I don't know. Odd choice that one was. Ethan Maples. Balthamel was at the eye. Yes, he was. That name is very familiar there. And Steve Iyer says Belial was forsaken at Eye of the World. Belal was the Stone of Tyr. Okay, see, that's why I don't remember names. Also because I'm not reading them as much as I'm listening to them. So, and often I am hearing them and not reading them at all because I will not read those chapters on paper until I'm like, wait, I have to look up this thing. And then I go look it up. Phantom Fro. When I was doing Taekwondo, there was a friend of the instructor that knew Kung Fu. I learned from him about kickboxing or about blocking at the joints. Yes, there you go. Learning from somebody in a different sport. And for me, it's fencing, which there are 3 weapons for, foil, saber, and epee. And you should always experiment with all 3, first of all, before you decide which one you want to be your dominant weapon. But occasionally, you should go in and try the others again, you know, every couple, maybe every year, go in and just experiment with one of the other weapons because it will force you to look at your game with a new perspective. And sorry, I'm going off topic here, but it may reveal to you, oh, I don't think people, you know, your opponent hits you in some way and you're like, I did not see that coming and I know exactly how they did it. And now I'm going to do that to people in my weapon and they won't see it coming and it'll be awesome. And it usually is until they figure out that's what you do. And then they get ready for that. And then that's why it's called physical chess, because you always try to figure out what is your opponent going to do? Okay, I'm going to be ready for that. And I'm going to do something to counter what they do. And yeah, there, sorry, going into that. Clearing the fog. Question. Can you speak to the writing style? It feels like daytime drama soap opera writing to me, appropriating impactful moments for cheap emotional cortisol dopamine hits. Yeah, I think actually you've kind of nailed it. The writing is very juvenile, but it's also just choppy. I think there's a lot of scenes that get cut and rearranged in this show, and that's why a lot of the dialogue ends up not making sense. And I'm not saying like whole scenes get cut. I mean, also just parts of these scenes get cut. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work when you make a cut and you go, what's left? Does it make sense? Not always, but they still seem to be putting them out there. But yeah, the focus also in their plots is very juvenile. Like, why are we concerned with Rand and Egwene's relationship at all? It should not be a factor here. We should not be concerned with this at all when Rand is sleeping with a Forsaken. But for some reason, that was the most important part of her confronting him. You're cheating on me. And then he's like, you never really loved me. Why does that matter? He is like in cahoots with the devil, or the devil's #1 agent, the one who could put the existence of the universe at risk. Anyway. Okay. Skipping. Gotta skip. I'm so sorry to all these people. Here's one I don't recognize. Scott 2. I picture the Aiel as Irish and Scottish looking people living in the Sahara. I think that sounds about, yeah, that's what I imagined too. I think that's pretty much exactly what he described, what Robert Jordan described. Philip Grisel. I'm not sure how to say that last name. Everyone else who criticized the show got called a bigot. Yeah, I think a lot of people are because there's complaints about things that are different from the book. And a lot of the things that are different from the book involve changes that were made, I think, to lean towards a specific social leaning. Like the liberal leaning is where a lot of the changes are being made. Like, we are not making a distinction between male and female channelers, where we just barely mentioned that Saidar and Saidine are 2 different things. And there's definitely a direction that they're going here. Okay, here we go. Another one. Having a lot of characters sleeping with each other when they shouldn't be. I mean, they weren't in the books. You didn't have Rand and Egwene banging in the hotel lobby in the Two Rivers where anybody could find out. Like, it was just not a thing. Like, that way, when they got to the Aiel and people were banging, they were like, oh, I'm very startled by this, but they eventually like learn about it and they get over that. People making complaints about those things are not complaining about a social issue. They're complaining about changing the material that Robert Jordan wrote because of a social issue today. So I was not particularly impressed with like Little Women, the most recent Little Women, because the characters were doing things that were not period. And that annoys me when you're doing a period film, unless you're going to do this movie as like, oh, well, we're going to, play rock and roll in the background and what. Even actually Marie Antoinette with Kirsten Dunst was more historically accurate. It just had pop culture music over all of it. But anyway, okay, Scott 2. The show is bombing. I've never seen it in the top 10 streaming charts. I popped in on the Prophet of the Dragons stream, and he was looking at how this show is lining up all over the world, and it's he found a couple, I think, where it's listed in the top 5, I believe, but it also seems like there's a little bit of dishonesty in the reporting that's saying it's like this big hit, which I think is, it's like, if I put it out there into the universe, maybe it'll come true sort of mentality. David Marazzo. I'm curious about what Robert Jordan's wife and editor thinks of the show. Yeah, me too. She's probably under some restrictions by contract with Amazon where she's not allowed to comment on it. At some point, though, the terms of that contract will expire, and then we'll find out, possibly. Gonna skip, gotta keep going. Kiriel Branson, maybe the show is saying they can heal as long as they aren't dead yet, although we can resuscitate someone who drowned who is dead, so this would be a really slippery line. They just do it for story. Yeah, it's sort of like, why didn't Alana try to heal Ivan when he fell? I mean, I get that she's not yellow, but when Perrin was stabbed in episode 6, they were like, we need Alana to heal him, and she does. So she didn't even try to save Ivan? I don't know. I guess they're trying to imply that he died before she could get to him, but like, what's the line there? And why didn't Liandrin die with a sword through her heart and through her spine? Let's see. Ulbelk, or Yulbelk, I'm not sure which one it is. The thing is that we have a lot of third-person limited views, and so we have a lot of young men, so we get a lot of the male gaze. Yeah, we do. I don't actually have a problem with if your character is a male and they're supposed to be thinking that. Like, a lot of men are going to notice a woman's body. And anytime she crosses her arms, even though under the breast is the most, we just had this discussion in my Discord about when a woman crosses her arms, where do they go? They naturally go under your boobs. They just do. As a matter of fact, putting them on top, depending on what time of the month it is, that might be painful to put them on there. So putting them underneath, that's the natural place for them to fold and to go. And if you're in a guy's head and a woman crosses her arms and her boobs are going up on a shelf, he's gonna notice it. That's usually what guys notice. Like, so I feel like that's an accurate portrayal of a man's thinking, and I think it's wishful thinking to believe that they don't do that. I think there are obviously some men who don't, but then in that case, it's like, this is a character trait. So if he's having all the guys do it, then it's just like, okay, they're all guys who are gonna notice stuff about women, especially when it involves their boobs. Let's see. Amanda. Harriet is a fairly chesty lady. I think RJ is just describing how his wife folded her arms. Yeah, we talked about this in the Discord also. I said, when you've got bigger boobs, it's comfortable to rest them on your hands, like on your arms. So if you've ever seen the IT Crowd, there's this great moment where Moss, which is a character in this show, he designs a bra and he describes it as, it's described as being like the most comfortable bra ever. And he says that he's made it out of this like living tissue kind of stuff. It's synthetic, but it's almost living. He says it would essentially be like having a pair of large man's hands holding the breasts in place. That's why it's comfortable. And I was like, you know what? That would be the most comfortable bra if it was just like they're just very nicely held up and it's not pulling on your shoulders or your back or anything. You're just, but yeah, so a more busty lady is, it's gonna be comfy to just rest them up on your arms there like that when you've got your arms folded. We're talking about boobs a lot. Steal for food. Fortunately, my wife skipped right to brutally honest. Oh, when you were doing critiquing, she was critiquing for you. That's good. I mean, as long as you know that she's just trying to help. I guarantee you, when somebody's critiquing your work, especially if they are a loved one and they're giving you negative feedback, it's not because they think what you've done is trash. It's because they know that you've got more in you that can be better than this, and they just want to help you to get there. Unless they're really vindictive, but it's your wife, so I doubt that. Heavy set media, and the healing at this time is a very hard art, and it takes years to learn. There are lots of ladies who can't heal at all. Yeah, they've really blown it. In the book, it was pretty obvious that you cannot have a yellow, or you cannot have somebody just randomly healing. Like, you can do a few little things maybe, but it's dangerous because you might accidentally, I think the example I used was sew somebody's stomach to their rectum and then they die, right? So you don't want that to happen, and you don't want to risk that happening. It's kind of like you have to go to medical school to learn how to channel in order to heal. Long and Distinguished. It's an interesting name. Agree, casting is a huge problem. Totally takes me out of the show. I don't know if you're talking about somebody specifically, but for me, the performances of the actors, if they're good enough, I can usually be fine with it. But if it's like somebody is completely different from how they were described in the books, it's going to take me a while to get over that, because it's like, you know what? When I was reading the book, I was listening to or reading what the writer intended this character to look like. So you got to give a little space to people who are upset about a casting choice, especially if it's important to things like their race. Like for Rand, he's Aiel. So him being distinct from everybody else in Two Rivers was kind of important, and he really wasn't a standout because there was the rainbow casting that was talked about earlier. Everybody was different in the Two Rivers, so he didn't stand out. But then again, they wanted to have this mystery thing going on. You know what? I'm going to pause on episode 3. For some reason, we are not talking about episode 3. I mean, do we want to discuss anything that happened in this? Like, okay, Perrin here, I just have to say, they were all over the place with his arc in this. I mean, going from, so we're at the scene here where he's convincing the townspeople, like, don't go back home. The previous scene where he was talking to the town, they'd all dispersed. Like, they would all talked, and they're like, yeah, we can't let you turn yourself in. And they all agreed, okay, we're not going to let him turn himself in. And then the town disperses. And then the next scene we have him, you know, he's inside the tavern talking to people, but then the scene after that is he comes outside and the town's leaving. I'm like, didn't they already disperse? Like, what's going on here? He's like, where are you going? Why didn't you ask that at the end of the last town meeting outside? So it was a little odd, but also his progress in this episode did not make sense to me. Here we've got the fight scene with Matt. I don't know why I'm playing this if we're not talking about it. Let's see. Robert Cabus, I feel that they improved Loyal's look. It's nowhere near book accurate, but it's better than season 1. I'm trying to remember a major difference. I don't really know one. Like, okay, so as far as him not being book accurate, like, I'm okay with them not making him, 10 feet tall or whatever. He's just very tall. He's big. He gives the impression of being large, and that's fine with me, because it can be very expensive to use the special effects that would be required to make him as big as he is described in the books. Rika, I don't know if that's 2 L's or an L. Well, why would it be an L-I? So Laren, Rika, or is it Yaren? I don't know if you pronounce the double L like you do here in Arizona, where we give it a yeah sound. I still can't move on the two girls healing Alana. What's the point of the White Tower? Yeah, they don't need to learn how to channel, apparently. They just know how to do it. All it takes is one description of how to do it from Alana, and they're pros. They can heal otherwise deadly wounds. I mean, she was dying, right? That was the impression I was given. Nerdy Arab says, as an Arab man, I had a conversation with RJ at an appearance, and he conceded they should have Middle Eastern characteristics, but we wanted their appearances to be pale and fair, fair red hair as satire. Really? Is that what he wanted? He wanted them to be different just as okay. That's interesting. I had no idea. That is so cool. You got to meet Robert Jordan. That is amazing. I have never spoken to somebody who's talked to him from what I, unless somebody in my Discord has and they've not told me. All right, skipping. I'm so far behind. Andrew Lund. Oh, that was not me. Sorry, that was for somebody else. That was for the Nerdy Arab. Donald Gooch. One of my favorite moments for Perrin in the entire series is Perrin's rescue of Fail in the wolf dream when she falls victim to the trap in Tyr. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. Do you think they're going to do that? He's not been in the dream world as far as I can recall. I haven't seen him in the dream world at all, except for when Egwene was visiting his dream, and it didn't seem like Perrin was in there deliberately. It seemed like this was just his dream. So I don't know if we're going to see that. All right, skipping a bit. Prater's in, haven't read one from you in a while. Course correct and force most of the characters into their book plots. Yeah, that's what they're going to have to do if they're going to keep going. I mean, it's sad, but what else are they going to do? Eric Tomasma Jr.? That's definitely a different name. It looks like Thomas Ma. Tomasma is what I'm thinking is how you say it. The olive oil bottle of Valir. Nice. Or it does look like a laundry detergent bottle. Like, you know, because it's got that, yeah, that is so funny. Olive oil bottle of Valir. Let's see. Ethan Maples said, Matt fights Gawain and Galad in chapter 24 of The Dragon Reborn a little more than halfway through the chapter since you said you wanted to go back to it. TDR, chapter 24, Matt fight. Thank you. Got that now. Let's see. Skipping. Gotta go down. I'm so sorry to all the people I have to skip. No, someone said Baal. There was Baal and Balthamel, but I can't understand the yeah, those names all sound the same to me. I have enough trouble with Elaine Egwene. Like, Elaine and Egwene, come on. But I'm just like that. I'm old, so names have to be very distinct from each other. Big Snack again. What is with you in these big tips? Thank you so much. My gosh. Would love to hear your thoughts on why Tar Valon was so empty during the Black Aja fight in episode 1 and why the White Tower was completely back to normal during Morgase's visit to episode 2. Didn't they wreck the scene? To me, the streets being empty was bizarre. And I'm like, I personally don't know if that's how people would act. If there was an explosive sound coming from the tower and then smoke and fire coming out of it, I'd be running out into the street to look at it. Like, that's how most people in a population will react. And then if it's coming towards you, they run away. How do we know this to be true? Well, look at the footage of 9/11, guys. A lot of people were standing there staring up at the towers until they started collapsing, and then they ran away. So most people will sit there and gawk. Now, as for why was everybody back to normal after all of this, it has been hypothesized, not by me, or theorized, that the fight in the beginning was never supposed to be in the show. That the first episode was supposed to just be, you know, everything that we see after the opening title credits, and that was it. And what happened was they were told, you need to put more action in this. There needs to be more happening. And then we got this filmed, because the way that everybody behaves after that fight makes no sense. Like, everybody's being so stupid. These boys deserve to get caught, and poor Matt, he deserves to get killed because of what he's doing, prancing around saying, I blew the horn of Valir. Well, after what Suwan said, it's still too late. It's too late for him. Like he should have assassins coming after him nonstop because, well, no. He should have people coming to kidnap him. Kidnap him, hold him in a dungeon, keep him alive because you do not want the Aes Sedai to be able to blow that horn. Right? So, in my opinion, there should be a whole new plot for Matt now where everybody's after him to capture him. All the bad guys, anyway. Let's see. Golden Eye Z. Balthal Mal and Agenor were the Forsaken at the Eye of the World. Bel-Al was at Tyr. He was known as the Net Weaver. Oh, really? Okay, how could I remember this? That it's Bel-Al was at Tyr. Bel-Al. Maybe it sounds like bail out a little bit. Bail-Al. Bail out of the... I don't know. I'm trying to come up with some way to remember this and I can't think of anything. Going down. Let's see. Cursed Kelpie has a message for me. Sorry if I miss people who have been selecting me. So in the program that I'm using does not highlight it for me. I would have to look over to a different window to see which ones are highlighted, but they're not synchronized. So it's like I could be scrolling through one and then this one is 20 lines ahead of me and I don't know where it's at. I don't know how to... Okay, do you have a Discord? Yes, I do. I'm considering opening my Discord up certain pages to be viewed by the public for free. But not... I'm trying to figure this out because right now it's set up so that if you are a member, and the lowest tier member starts at $5, and they have full access to all of the Discord with the exception of the movie page, because we get together and watch movies. Anybody who is at the $7 tier or higher, we get together and watch movies at least once a month. And yeah, so the $5 is able to interact on all of the text channels, and $7 is allowed to do everything. So I'm thinking of opening it up to the public where the public can view certain pages for free, like maybe my general chat section, because we have like a Wheel of Time section, we have a Avatar section, we have what was the one, the Arcane section, we got Star Trek, we got a D&D in there too, but we were supposed to have a D&D game. I've never played D&D before, and I wanted to see a game, and so people were going to play it, and I was going to watch and know how to play it after watching, and then I would jump in on a game, but it didn't happen. People just couldn't coordinate getting together. I think we just didn't have a big enough pool of people who play to get together and organize it, but I think there's people who are willing to play and want to play that are in the Discord. But yeah, so I'm thinking of opening it up for free to the public to view certain pages, and then possibly a $1 tier where they can, I don't know, view all of them, or I don't know. I'm still figuring that bit out. But right now the Discord is open to the $5 tier and up. Scott 2, top 5 on Amazon, maybe? Maybe. Is it top 5? I don't know if it is. Might be close. Blue Feather Ephemera says, oh, and thank you for the $10. You're right, the writers don't communicate. Min schemed with Leandrin on the promise of removing her curse of seeing visions. Later, she treats it like a bar trick. Terrible writing. Yeah. So I noticed that in episode... Is it 3? I think it's in episode 3. Min says at one point to Matt that I came to the tower thinking maybe I could do some good with my curse or whatever. But she doesn't say that until after she has talked to Elida, because Elida is the one who suggests this to her in this scene here that we're seeing on my stream, where Elida basically tells her, like, I'm a seer too, and you know what, I didn't just stand around just because I could see the future and like, oh well, I guess it's gonna happen. I did things before and after. Like, I actually liked this, whether it's book accurate or not. I liked this idea that this is what inspires Min to do good with it. But later, when she's talking to Matt, she claims that the whole reason she came to the tower was to try to do good with her gift. So what good was she planning to do? Because they misrepresented what this conversation with Elida should have been the thing that changed her mind, not her before she comes to the tower. Like, if she comes to the tower wanting to do good with it and then she has this conversation with Elida, this conversation with Elida means nothing because she's already come to the conclusion, I want to use my ability to be helpful in some way. So anyway, scrolling down. I'm so sorry to all the people who we got here. Here's one I have not read from in a while. J.S. Brads this one. Lanfear has 2 sharp features. They've aged up everybody in this show. All of the Aes Sedai are in appearance much older. Lanfear's supposed to look like she's at least the same age as Rand, and she certainly looks older. But what are you gonna do? I mean, she's at least one of the more interesting actresses in the show. She's got a lot of range that she's allowed to play with in this. You know, she can be super evil, she can be piteous or pitiful, she can be sensual. We've just kind of seen it all from her at this point. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the other episode before I forget. So we're gonna pause on this. Putting on episode 4. Here's episode 4. Starts right in with the fighting. So there you go. Okay, Drifter 23X. They seem to be avoiding Perrin's wolf stuff. There was talk before season 1 they wanted to make the wolves bears because Game of Thrones had wolves. They rip everything else off terribly from Game of Thrones, but wolves. I don't know. Like, I could see bears possibly working, except that bears aren't really known for their mobility. I mean, you couldn't imagine, like, a pack of bears, you know, running across a field chasing them, so they wouldn't have been able to do that scene. You can't really picture them sneaking up on a camp, although bears actually are quite stealthy, and it's sort of terrifying. But I just don't see them as being creatures that you would see frolicking through the dream world. It would have been a very awkward adjustment, but I mean, it's always like, that's a big change to change them from wolves to bears. I mean, maybe hawks. I could maybe see hawks, something that's more agile. That also, I'm thinking of Lady Hawk, so that could just be me. But I still I wouldn't have changed it. I would have just kept them wolves. Dogs and humans have a very special relationship. It stems from dogs and from wolves and humans. So, and when you think about all the creatures in the world, dogs are the most integrated into human society, like into our function as a civilized people. They have integrated the most. Even cats are basically wild animals that choose to live with us. Let's see. Danger, panic. Daniel Henney has done a great job. It's been real hard to see Lan as anyone other than a young Patrick Swayze a la Steel Dawn. I don't know. I'm enjoying him, at least physically. I don't think they've given his character a whole lot to do. I think he could potentially be very interesting. I don't personally like the whisper talking that he's doing all the time, but I did hear an interview with him, and I understand why he's doing it. This is not his natural voice at all. This is a performance voice that he is using specific for this role to make himself sound, I would say, more weathered, to make himself sound more mysterious, because he does not sound like that when he's in normal, everyday conversation. This is the performance voice. So I have to say, like, a good choice on his part, but maybe figure out a way to add some range to that, because the constant whisper talking and everything, it narrows his range significantly. Good actors will use the tonality of their voice a lot to emote, and it's hard to do a talking in a whisper voice all the time. I can't even do it. I can't do it. Anyway, let's see. How do we like that headpiece that that lady's wearing? It seems very uncomfortable. It must be heavy as heck. Let's see. Azaria Rayford. I hope I said that right. Perrin's arc has been such a disappointment. It has been sidelined in this most recent episode, episode 2, well, 3 and 4, for Alana and Maxime. They are not important in the grand scheme of what happens in the Two Rivers. Not like Perrin is important. And to spend so much time with Alana and the Warders and neglect Perrin, it's going to make the most important events that happen, which are Perrin related, it's going to make them feel like this is just here for action. Just action. Just like that's all that we're doing here. And it's not related to Alana and Maxime. unless we are replacing certain things, certain roles with Alana and Maxime, which it seems like they are doing. So, see, this is one of the effects of somebody just texted a bunch of mute, mute, mute buttons. Oh, shoot! Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I had the episode playing. I'm so sorry. How that's been going for so long. How long has this been playing? Oh my gosh, it's been 5 minutes almost. I'm so sorry. Well, now you don't have that, and I'm so sorry. I'm glad somebody Amber, the sound is on. I'm so sorry. That must have been the most obnoxious 5 minutes. Just pretend that they didn't happen. Yeah. Okay, Heron's arc has been such a disappointment. Yes, I hope you guys were able to hear some of what I was saying there. Yeah, they've sidelined him for Alana and Maxime, and this is one of those cause and effect things where if you are going to put a lot of focus on Alana and Maxime in the beginning, it's going to make all of the action stuff that happens with Perrin feel like it's not related to these guys, unless you're going to take Alana and Maxime and make them more crucial or put them in more significant central roles in what happens, which is going to take away from Perrin. So little decisions made in the beginning, especially to the focus of your story and the motivations of the characters, it has a butterfly effect, and it will be worse and worse the further down the line you get, unless you just retcon yourself, which is what the show does do occasionally. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about the sound, you guys. Oh, how far behind am I? I'm gonna skip down. I'm skipping a lot of people, except this person, M. I've never seen a message from you before. Sorry it's so crazy that they're aware Trollocs are around, but not only do people leave their farms unattended, they also stay in town the whole day and leave in the middle of the night. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I just critiqued that bit. The bit that I critiqued was that they didn't stress that they would not want to leave their farms because their farms are their livelihood. So they don't look at their farms as like, I want to go back to my house. No, like, my whole family for generations has cultivated this land, and that's how we live. Like, we don't live if we don't have this land, and that's why they want to go back and protect their farms. And Perrin goes, you're gonna die, and points to a child and says, look, you can regrow your crops, but can you regrow one of those, a child? And it suddenly dawns on them, wait, is my farm worth my son or my daughter? And that's what changes the people. Like, it's such a it is a way more powerful conflict and resolution there. I don't know why you would not do that. It would be so much more powerful if they did that, but they didn't. For time, they had to, I think it's like, I was like, they would only have to have added a few more seconds to that conversation in order to make it clear that's what was gonna, like, that was what was at stake. That was why the people were going back, setting aside the fact that they were going back at night. But it would have been more powerful if they did that, but they would have had to have added a few more seconds. And I'm like, and they gave those seconds to Maxime and Alana. Maxime asking Alana, why are we here? Like, is it common for an Aes Sedai to take her warder places and refuse to tell him why they are where they are? I don't think so. It's just, they've really altered the relationship between the Aes Sedai and the warders in this. Like, they should be very close. They should be confidants. They should, if anybody is going to be in an alliance with each other, it is an Aes Sedai and her warder. And they are just missing the mark on that in every warder Aes Sedai situation that we have seen, with the exception of Karenina and Stepan, who died. They were the only ones we saw acting like a warder and Aes Sedai. And we didn't get to see them fight together, did we? That's kind of sad. All right, let's see. Magister 343. The Aiel coloration only makes sense if they always wear their veils and never let their skin be exposed to the sunlight in the waist. This is true. Phaedion. I think Phaedion? Okay, I hope I said that right. The show took an already diverse woman-dominant series and just turned it up to 11. Yeah, they did. And it's a little, yeah, it's like, I had a conversation with my friend over at Netflix when I was visiting LA, and and said, hoping that the meaning got across. And I feel like it was, because this was somebody who was already saying this is what we hope to do, that trust the source material. It's popular for a reason. It was successful for a reason. And I think this person knows that. And the reason things don't turn out the way that they want is because of other factors that are not in the control of these people. I'm trying not to give away if it's a man or a woman and all that good stuff, because I don't want this person to get in trouble. Go Trek Troll Slayer said, oh, sorry, Robert Cabus, $10. Thank you. Sorry. I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much. Finding the painting beneath Leandrin's son's bed just feels like lazy writing. Leandrin knows Nynaeve is in the city and where her son was, leaving a very identifiable mark. Makes no sense. That is a good point. I mean, somebody on another stream, because I was listening to somebody streaming about this episode, and they brought up a good point, and it's something that I probably would have mentioned in a manuscript, but maybe not in my review of the show. But they should have exposed that she was part of this culture beforehand. This is how you write mysteries, is you drop the clues in before they become something that you should pay attention to. So that way, when you get to the, oh, we need to know what this is, you're like, wait, didn't we hear that she was part of this one religion? And that religion is like central to Tanchico. Isn't that where she's from? Oh, but that's where she is. Like, you would drop these clues way further in advance. You don't drop them right at the end. That's sort of like how with Rand, his conversation with his dad, when his dad was injured in the forest, and he's like, you're not really my son, you know, I found you on the mountain. And that conversation would have given away right from the beginning that he was the dragon reborn. Like, we would have known. And they really wanted that mystery to be like a big thing that we're paying attention, you know, like, who is the dragon? And they revealed it right at the end, right when he needed to be like, it's definitely me. But the thing is, he should have been thinking that through the whole thing. Like, he should have been like, it's me, all the way to the end. There's also, they ignored that when he was in the ways and Machin Shin was talking to him, he said, you are the dragon reborn. And then he went about his day as if he never heard that. Like, watching these things a second time, a lot less makes sense. So, let's see. Let's see, where are we going here? Where are we going? Go Trek Troll Slayer. Why has the show focused on Leandrin so much? She was a secondary character in the books. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe they felt like they needed more female villains to balance out the female heroes in this, because we've got, you know, Moiraine and Nynaeve and Egwene and Elaine and Siuan and Alana and Farron, like, the list goes on, but we only have Lanfear as a villain. So they needed to, I feel like they felt they needed to balance it out. But again, this is like an aesthetic that they're going for that does not honor the source material. There's only so much insanity you can critique before you just go, like, have to let some things go. And I don't mean like we have to live with it and not be upset about it. I just mean that if I talk about it, I'm going to just be talking forever, which it happens anyway. That's why my videos are so long. Zeno says, and Matt would be whispering that in some girl's ear, not proclaiming it. Yeah, the whole I'm the man who blew the horn of Lear. I don't even know if he would tell people about that, but the choices they've made with Matt are very odd, and I do wonder what are they indicative of? Like, what was the reasoning behind why they made certain changes to his personality? I'm not necessarily talking about his actions in the plot, because whatever. He was such a different person in the books. He was like a charismatic character, and he is not that at all in the show. And it's like, why are you making him into somebody who seems shallow, who seems like a small person who wishes they were bigger, and not wishes in the, like, you know, I don't know, Sam wishing that he were braver or something, but like somebody who's trying to put on airs. I don't know. Alex, Shamanik? I hope I said, I don't know how to say the last name. I did my best. It makes a funny sort of sense for the Aiel to be fair-skinned. It's a juxtaposition, like calling a big man slim. They're supposed to be anachronistic. Okay. I think, well, that gets back to the commenter who said that they met Robert Jordan, and he said that this was meant to be like a satirical take. And it's, I have to wonder, did he really intend that? Or did he like decide this is what they look like? And then the first time somebody brought up they should be they should be darker in complexion and have black hair. And he went, I don't want to change it though. I like them being like this. And then he just came up with a reason to like, well, it's supposed to be satire. I meant to do it this way. It could be that, which, you know what? Who cares? The rest of the books are good enough. So I don't think the books are, at least out the what I have read so far, because I've not completed the series. And I know that when you get to the end, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to read it again. And you'll pick up way more than you did the first time around and see that there was so much thought put into creating this world and these characters and the themes that are explored. But sorry, I got distracted by Rand and Moiraine banging, which was so weird. What was it? What makes it? I forgot what the heck point I was gonna make. I was so distracted. Oh well, whatever it was I was gonna say, pretend I said it, and it was brilliant. Let's see. Moving on. Gotta go down. Gotta go down. Jeff Sheehan. It's interesting that they just mention assassins in the show and ignore the scene in Tar Valon in the books when Matt meets Tom. That they just mention assassins in the show and ignore the scene in Tar Valon. What am I missing here? I'm missing something in this correlation here. Oh, did this video not restart? Hang on one second while I adjust the settings on this. It is supposed to loop. Okay, there we go. It's interesting that they mention assassins in the show and ignore the scene in Tar Valon in the books when Matt meets Tom. Like, I remember that scene when Matt comes across Tom again. I'm missing something. You guys are gonna have to fill me in on that one. I'm sorry. Gotta skip down. Oh my gosh. I gotta skip down. It's down. TJ DeVries? Okay. The writing finally makes sense. Oh no. Did I miss something? I'm sorry. I don't know what that means. The writing finally makes sense. Someone let Amber know the audio is still playing. Oh my gosh, we've reached that part. I should skip ahead. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm gonna skip to if there's any oh my gosh, all of you guys shouting my name. Amber, it's so loud. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. The Merlin says thank you. Summit says thank goodness. Mix and Match. Hey, Mix and Match. You deserve a special shout out. He was my first ever patron. Who wasn't somebody I knew in real life. So thank you, Mix and Match, for being my most loyal patron. Let's see. Okay, everybody's laughing at me. I was typing super chat to ask for mute. I'm so sorry, Zeno. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Was it really that loud? Oh my gosh. Big Snack. Me as an evil chipmunk. I know they all sound like chipmunks when you listen. It's almost fun to watch, like listening to the music. So like listening to the theme song at 4x speed is kind of funny. Ethan Maples, any thoughts on the show keeping Bane and Chiad instead of Gaul? Any reasons from a show standpoint to do this instead of just have Gaul? No, they just wanted to have more, I think, they wanted to have more women characters. That's all I can think. And then it's your guess is as good as mine, but I think it's probably accurate to say that they really wanted this to be a female-heavy cast, and that's why they cut out Gaul and just replaced him with Bane and Chiad. I don't think I mentioned in any of my reviews the deal with Avienda, and she had Toe that she owed Perrin for saving her life, and I don't know if she felt like she paid it back. I tried to look back at the finale of season 2 for any instance where she saved his life, and I couldn't see one. So is that over now and she's just moved on to Rand? I don't know. That's another example. And I was not the one to first notice that, by the way. I heard somebody else say it and I went, oh yeah, you're right. So, um, to all the people who picked up on that, this is why you should have multiple people editing at different levels for you, because other people are going to notice things that you don't notice. Like, I tell every single one of my clients, I should not be the only editor you go to. Not by a long shot. Like, you should have at least two. The more you have, the better. You don't have to listen to everything everybody says, but a lot of them are gonna say the same things. That's the stuff you gotta listen to. And some of them are gonna say stuff that the others didn't catch. And you need to know when those mentions are valuable. This would have been one of those mentions. Somebody discovered, hey, wasn't Avienda still like, didn't she still owe herself to Rand? Like, she has to stay with him until she saved his life or something, and now she just drops that. Yeah, somebody should have picked up on that. But the writers did nothing and hoped we wouldn't notice. So everybody's laughing. What are they all laughing at? I've got people doing this left and right. Like, let's see. JS Brad's one Narg Smart t-shirt nerdy night. I don't know what that means. M says, what even is a dragon reborn in this story? Because Rand goes to find himself an army in the waste, but instead find a best friend whose G he manages to offend obliviously. I don't know. He should be having a lot of conversations with Rourke and other clan chiefs and other people in high positions in this group. Like, why is he not constantly in conversation with the leaders of these people? That is just, I do not understand this. Like, do you guys not realize that he's supposed to be the messiah of these people? Like, even more so, because he's going to upend their entire culture. Half of them are going to be, more than half, they're going to be broken like twigs according to the prophecy. Like, why did they make a big deal out of that prophecy if they weren't going to show people meeting him and being very much affected by it? I don't know. Scott, too. Matt did not want to be famous or noticed. He craved being left alone. He also craved the ladies, though. And it was not in an obnoxious way like it is in the show, where he seemed like a small person who was just trying to hook up with them. It's more like, he's just got the charisma. He likes it. He likes being with the gals, and they like being with him. Chalk Smack, I liked the other actor as Matt. Yeah, you know what though? But this guy has impressed me this season. His scene with Suan I thought was quite good. It was potentially the most obnoxious scene ever because it was pointless, and it was Suan acting not like a mature human being. Like, she was acting incompetent. To be belittling in this way is there's a specific word for how she was treating him. It is belittling, but it's something else. I can't recall what it is. I'm so bad with vocabulary off the top of my head. But she was behaving in a way that exudes lacking confidence, lacking competence. People who are good at what they do, who do have confidence in what they do not act this way. They don't put somebody else down in a belittling way like this. She would just be direct, first of all, if we're going to be what she's like in the book, but also just the psychology of a person who genuinely has competence and confidence does not do this. It's a very immature thing to do. It is actually something that you do when you do not have a lot of confidence or competence, because you feel like you have to bring the other person down and point out their stupidity in a very belittling way. What is the word? I don't know what the word is, but yeah, but he and Suan played that scene as unobnoxiously as possible, and it was because of the way they performed it. It could have been so much worse. So, I don't know, I'm giving him a chance. I did like the other actor, but, you know, it's easy to be really attached to somebody at the start, because you're like, okay, this is the guy this is the guy. And then when they switch, most people are going to be upset just because there was a switch. But he did all right this season so far. And he did in the fight scene, I can tell he definitely practiced with a quarterstaff. I mean, he looked decent enough to look good on screen with it. So let's see. So he's got some physical ability as well. I think he may have more physical ability than the actor who plays Rand. I have a theory. Just after seeing the fight scene in this episode where he is his father and he's, fighting, he doesn't seem as physically agile and capable as some of the other people in this show have demonstrated. But that's what he's obviously got talent. I mean, I wasn't impressed with the makeup in these sequences. I think that it was very good, but it was distracting to me because I could see that it was makeup and I could see what it was him, but the actor did a good job. So, I mean, this is one of those things where if the rest of the show was fantastic and they did this, I wouldn't complain about anything. But because the rest of the show is not fantastic, it is far from it. In fact, it's added to the list of things that I complain about. Is that I didn't like the makeup. They should have had different actors and we would have gotten it. Just have that flicker thing happen where it's going from Rand's face to his ancestor's face until we're just in the ancestor's face. I think we would have gotten it. We would get that he is experiencing everything through the experiences of his ancestors. Anyway. Okay. Calm down. Summit says, "Whoa, Amber, whatever you were going to say was amazing." What was I going to say? What was amazing? Oh, man. I hate when I'm almost brilliant. Because then I'm like, what did I do? What did I say? Warlock 000 says, "It's not like a bunch of gingers that exiled themselves to the desert is to evolve over a mere 3,000 years." Yeah. Are we still there at that point? That was Warlock 000. Let's see. TJ DeVries says, "Oh no, she is so far behind." Is that LOL? LUL? Laughing under le table? I don't know. LUL. I think that was probably meant to be an O. Let's see. Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Let's see. Ooh, my eyes are starting to feel like they're steaming. I liked this scene. This effect. Her floating in the rings, I thought looked great. Their wire work was so good here. Why was it trash everywhere else? I don't know. It was okay actually in the Leandrin fight in the beginning of episode 1. It wasn't great, but it was not as bad as it was in season 1, which was hilarious. You watch that where they're lifting Logain up into the sky, up into the air. He is swinging like this, like on his wires. At least stop him from swinging and then, oh, whatever. Okay, sorry. I feel like bad wire work, there's no excuse for it when you can see these really cheap, like, wuxia and xianxia shows out of China that do it better. But I guess they do it more often. But seriously, call somebody to make a call. How did you do that? Tell us. We want to do that. Or hire them. Zeno, thank you for the $2 tip. TJ's, the writing... Amber, TJ's, the writing makes sense speed audio. TJ's, the writing makes sense speed audio. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Steve Irie says, "Gosh, the Avienda and Elaine romance is so horrible." Oh, well, it's, you know what? There is no romance. What romance? That's the problem. If you were going to take characters who were just friends and turn it into a romance, at least make it good. Make it something that we go, oh, that was actually really good. Like, I'm really invested because I could see that they did have chemistry. Like, build that up. But they didn't even bother to do that. All the flirting happened off screen, and then in a minute, what did I say it came down to? Like a minute and 40 seconds or something like that, and then they were banging. Like, I'm sorry. That's just so cheap. They're banging for the sake of banging. Vinny C, that who I be. Hey everyone, how many of us are all now banned from multiple subreddits relating to the Wheel of Time simply because we are actual fans who love the books? I have not been part of Reddit, so I don't know what all that drama is. I've heard of it. I think it's despicable to kick people out for stating their opinions. I mean, unless people are getting, I don't know, really offensive or something, but somebody criticizing something that you like should not be grounds for banning from a discussion. I mean, something that sorry, somebody closed the door and it rattled my door. Um, Something that I talk about in the comments a lot is when I get people who come on and tell me that they love the show, and how dare I critique it or whatever it is that they're saying. Like, look, you're allowed to like the show. Like, I don't have a problem with people loving the show, but when somebody makes objective critiques, you don't take offense to that. You just go, I don't care. I don't care about the stuff that's wrong with it. I still love it. That's perfectly okay to do. I love plenty of stories that are no good, that they're just frankly trash. I was really into Lex for a time. I don't know why. It just tickled me the right way. I thought it was funny. I watch it now and I don't know about that. I haven't watched it in maybe a decade, but when it was out, I was like, this is hilarious. You've got carrot-shaped spider aliens running around trying to anal probe people. Like, that was funny to me. And how are they gonna catch him? Well, they've got a guy who's basically like he's a reanimated corpse basically, and he was like letting them probe him, and then he would like twist his spine to break them in half while they were in him. I thought it was funny. So, but the whole show is trash. It was total trash. It was not good, but I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was fun. Let's see. So you're allowed to like something even though it's not good. You're allowed to like something even though it's not perfect. I can find mistakes in everything. And I've said it before, I can find mistakes even in Lawrence of Arabia. Yes, there are tracks in the sand. That's about the extent of the mistakes I can find. Now, I'm sure if I really thought about it, I could find more in the writing that I'd be like, I would have done this differently. But, at that point, it's like a preference. It's not even you did this right or wrong. Let's see. Skipping down. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Corey Gray, emasculating. Oh, people are trying to help me find my word. Condescending, patronizing, condescending, diminished. I don't... It's condescending. It is condescending. I think that belittling and condescending are very similar. So yeah, patronizing. Those are good words. So Pango Patty said condescending, probably. Ethan Maple said patronizing. Scott too, condescending. Yeah, Robert Cabus, diminished. Yeah, these are all good words. I think any one of those would have been closer to, well, I think belittling falls in that category. Maybe I don't even know which word I was looking for. I just wanted more words to describe what she was doing that was so obnoxious. I might be catching up. Kyle Franzen. They looked like hobbits. Oh, the guys in the Aiel in that scene where they're like hugging the tree and all stuff. Yeah, it was the hair, the curly hair and slightly longer that did it. It's fine. I was okay with it. Actually, I thought that let's see, that scene and then the scene where he was receiving the Sakharnan or whatever that thing is, those, because it was him not in like makeup to make him look really different, they were the least distracting for me. And actually when he was inside the sphere thing, the universe, that was okay too. But I mean, it was all good. It's all very good. And like I said, the makeup for aging him would not, or making him look different, would not have bothered me at all. Well, not enough to make me complain if the rest of the show was brilliant. Let's see, skipping down. Gringo Pistolero. Nice, I like that name. Let's see, the thing about Matt's fight scene is that he only did it so he could win a bet and have enough money to get away from the tower. Yeah, that's a point that that has been in discussion a lot in my Discord, is that he did it in the books because he needed money and he thought it would be fun, but not because he was like butthurt about them being popular with the ladies and stuff over him. So it makes him look like a smaller person. When I say smaller, I mean his character seems smaller, not in the scope of the story. He's acting less charismatically and more despicably. He's more on that side of the spectrum is what I'm talking about. I need water again. Whew, sorry about that. All right. Okay, we have reached the 2-hour mark. I say we go for another, like, I don't know, 20 minutes. That sound good to everybody? Let's see. Martin 11. It's almost 5 a.m. here, but I still made the live. Good job. And I got your message. Good job. My goodness. Okay. You've got oh my gosh, I forgot what the name of the flag is here. What is that flag called? There's a name for it. I know it's the flag of Great Britain, but there's a name for that. It sounds like an object every time I hear it. I'll never remember. You guys will be telling me what it is in the comments, and I won't see it for another 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Tador! Episode 5 was the one decent episode in 2.5 seasons of crap. It's like the writer decided to actually look at the book. Unfortunately, episode 5 goes back to being swill. I don't know if you were here earlier, Tador, but yeah, actually, episode 4 still had the same writing flaws as all the other episodes. It's just that it was an episode because of what they decided to cover in this with all the different short stories. It was an episode that called for some exceptions to the writing, and those exceptions happen to be the things that the writers of the show usually do on accident that are not good. Like, if everything else was great in this show, we would have watched that episode and been like, yeah, it was written rougher, like it wasn't written as well as everything else, but who cares? Everything else was great, and they did a lot in this episode. So it's tough. Union Jack. That's what the name of the flag. The flag. There. I remembered. Okay, I feel better about myself. J Ramble's Universe. What did you think of the Hills of Tenchiko? It was surprisingly lacking in hills. Like, Elaine she does not have any jiggle in that chest. I'm sorry. Like, or at least she wasn't doing it the right way. I was hoping if they were gonna do a boob song, at least they would do something funny. Like, okay, the first Broadway show I ever saw was my family was visiting San Francisco, and my friend took us to well, you know, where you go and you get tickets that nobody could sell, and so they helped sell them at half price, and the only thing that was available was The Graduate. So here I was in high school, and I went to go see The Graduate. And there was a part where a girl, who's a stripper obviously, dances on a table, and she's got tassels over her, you know, and she twirls them one direction, and then together, and then in the opposite direction. And I always thought that was so funny. I was hoping we would get something like that. If you're going to do a song about boobs and you're going to show boobs in this show, that would have been the place to do something funny. But, okay. Anyway, whatever. Let's see. Andrew Rose. We're not doing spoilers, right? Some folks, even our hostess, may not have gotten to the Shadow Rising. Oh, I've read the Shadow Rising. I'm on book 6. And unfortunately have not had much time to read it because I'm spending every spare second that I have editing my videos. And I'm doing this so that I have more content to put out there because it takes so long for me to edit my videos. But yeah, I would say please no spoilers for book 6 and beyond for me. But everybody please be careful how you word things, just for anybody who might not have read the books in the chat. If you want to talk spoilers, you're welcome to jump into my Discord. We have a spoiler section in the Wheel of Time. But Funky D said, "Did I hear Lex?" Yes, you did. That's the one, the double X Lex there. It was such a horny show. It was so bad. It was so bad. Let's see. Amanda, I think we get the homogeneous look of the Aiel after the Gen Aiel set the clan to see their history in the glass columns because those who couldn't accept their clans died out. Is that something is that like a consensus that people have come to, that it wasn't so homogeneous until after that period in their history? That's interesting. Oh, here we go. Blue Feather Ephemera. Thank you for the $10. Another $10 for a second hour. Girl, you have stamina. Well, you know what? It's not hard to think of things to complain about with this show, which is so sad. I would love to talk about the great things in the show. I like this part. I like this. And this was something that they did that wasn't, I don't recall her in the book doing that. I don't know why it doesn't stand out to me. I don't recall this, but I liked a lot of the stuff that they did in this whole sequence, especially with, I'm sorry, they did a great job with the visual effects in this. Like I said, this was on par with the stuff that we see on Apple TV, which is pretty good special effects for TV. Let's see, Alex Shamanek. Lex, why that's a show I haven't heard in a long time. That's because it was such trash that it came and went and was never heard from again. That's how bad it was. It's okay to say you like something that's not perfect or just plain old garbage. Keep going. Now, play history. I honestly felt these 2 episodes were the first that ever captured some of the books, though I'm still pissed off about the changes. Well, you're rightfully upset because the only way for them to get back onto the books is for them to retcon themselves. So it's very unsatisfying. And they're like, well, you should be happy now. We're doing what the books do. It's like, it's too late, man. It's too late. You've already created characters who aren't going to make sense going forward if you put them on track of the books. Like, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, you are rightfully upset. Anybody who was hoping for a faithful adaptation is totally justified in being upset with what the show has done, even though they are making the changes to be following the books more. We can enjoy it, but we can still be angry that they blew it. This show is not going to do well with people who love epic fantasy. I heard it was somebody over on the White Cloaks, one of their streams that I was listening to, where they were talking about how if this was closer to the books, close enough, and still not perfect, but close enough that it was a faithful adaptation, every person who was a fan of the books, or the majority of them, would not be pooping on the show. They would be praising it and telling everyone they know, you have to watch this, because they would hope that people would watch the show and be interested in it enough and like it enough to want to read the book so that they can share that with them. Like, it's a film adaptation. A lot of people like to knock film adaptations, but you know what? It's a way to share a story. Like, I know I could never get my mother to watch any anime of any kind. She can't. For the life of her, she cannot do it. But she loved One Piece. On her own, my mother watched One Piece something like 3 or 4 times all the way through, like back to back. That's how much she enjoyed it. She would never have watched the anime. She would, even if we were to take word for word, shot for shot, what they did in the live action and convert it to an animated feature, even if it wasn't anime, even if it was like a Disney animation or a 3D image, she just wouldn't be able to do it. She cannot get herself to connect with an animated story, but she adored the live action. And now I get to share in that story with her because she loved it. And my nephew, who absolutely is obsessed with One Piece, he gets to talk about it with her and she knows what he's talking about. She gets to have that connection with him. So I don't knock adaptations because it is a way to share stories with people who would otherwise not have an interest in going to them. And people who watch this show are going to go read the books and have. I guarantee you this show has drawn a lot of people to the books. So at least we can say that. Like, at least it's done that. It's unfortunate that it won't draw as many as it could have because of just the poor characterization that they're doing. And I don't mean poor characterization of the characters from the book. I just mean, in general, not well constructed characters that we find likable or interesting. Stefan Gustafson. I hope I got that right. Great review as always. I have a hit pause because I have to go to work. You have to hit pause because you got to go work. I'll check out the rest later. Thank you. And you can watch it at 2 times speed if you need, because I know that I talk a little bit slowly compared to a lot of other YouTubers. So go ahead and do it twice as fast. Andrew Rose. Yeah, come on, give us the Choden call for Pete's sake and the little fat man. I kind of thought that's what we were supposed to have in season 1. Isn't that what the little fat man was? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Wolfman Dan. Hello. Keep up the good work. I sent that thing we discussed to BS. Fingers crossed. BS. Oh, you're that person. Oh, nice. Well, I hope that he picks it up and takes a look at it. I don't know if he has like a company inquiries line. This is somebody who wanted to send something to Harriet Robert Jordan's wife, about the Wheel of Time, but it was like a project proposal. I'm not going to give anything away, Wolfman, don't worry. But I thought, you know what, maybe you would have a better chance at approaching Brandon Sanderson first, because going straight to the person who holds the rights at this point, they probably get a lot of mail from people saying, "Oh, I have a proposal for an idea, or a project that we could do. I think it would be great for," or whatever. And they most likely won't take them as seriously. But if you get somebody who is already a business person, already successful, a professional storyteller, and in this case, it's Brandon Sanderson, somebody who was already involved in this project and would know something of quality, that would honor the material. If you can get that person on board and then approach with that person endorsing your idea, you have a way better chance at getting your project produced or getting further with it anyway. So I'll never forget this story. This was way back when I was in college myself. So we're going back like 25 years here. You've got, it was a writer who really wanted to get their work published by one of the big five, but knew that they weren't going to have much of a chance. It's very difficult to get past a certain barrier, the agent barrier, with the big five. And if your project lands on the wrong desk and it's just not the thing of the person who's reviewing the submitted works, you might have no chance no matter how good your story is. So what this writer did was they made a deal with Costco. Let me sell my book. They self-published. So let me sell my book on the Costco table. So if you don't have a membership at Costco, you won't know this, but it's this big warehouse store where they sell items in bulk. It's basically a grocery store where or like a Walmart, but everything is in bulk. There's a table full of books, and it was kind of a book. It was kind of like a Barnes and Noble alternative or a Bookman's alternative. Are there Bookmans around still? And you wouldn't be able to do this with a Bookman's or a Barnes and Noble, but he went to Costco, which is a franchise, so you only have to approach the person who owns that Costco. And he said, let me sell my book on your table for 1 month and collect the numbers. And it did very well. And so he was able to, after just 1 month at Costco, present those numbers to an agent who was able to present those numbers to a publisher. And suddenly it's very appealing. Why? Because you have proven that your product will sell. He didn't even have any marketing, like nobody behind him. He did not have a big name to put as a stamp on his book, which, by the way, big publishers do not really help you to promote your book. You basically just get the credit of having a big five publish your work. Be very careful before you decide to go with a big publisher. Like, definitely get a good agent who is going to vouch for your intentions for the book, and not limit what you can do with it. The horror stories that friends of mine have had books that have been fantastic, great, done very well as hard copies, but for some reason the publishers will not allow them to produce their own audiobook. And it's like, well, then you produce it. Like, I will fund it for you to produce an audiobook. Nope, we're not doing that. Like, this could have sold so much more if you had an audiobook as well. Why would you not do that, especially if your author is volunteering to fund it? Like, the control is taken away from the writer. Sorry, we're getting into the publishing discussion here, but it's a very interesting discussion. Maybe we'll do special on just that. But anyway, so my story about the Costco thing was, in relation to what Wolfman Dan here is saying, is just that if you can get some sort of endorsement from somebody who's already proven in the industry, if you can get somebody to support you and say this work is worth taking a look at, it's more likely to draw in other people. In which case, if you've got somebody endorsing your work and you want to present it to Harriet, that's probably going to do better than just you going straight to Harriet and like, what do you think? Okay, we got to move on. Play history. Don't feel bad for getting water. I know how hard it is to stream and talk. Play history. Oh, so you've got a channel. I don't know what your channel is. Maybe I've been there and I'm, for some reason, not recognizing your name. I'm sorry. But people go and check out Play history. Okay, Rooksgate. I loved your breakdown of the fight scene. I couldn't watch it without seeing all of the continuity errors, so thanks for that. I don't really care what happened, but it could have been consistent. Yeah. Really, the editing is the most atrocious thing in a lot of these fight scenes. They edit them in a way that you really can't see what's happening, and I think that they're kind of banking on that. Like, they won't really be able to see what's happening, so we can kind of do anything we want and make it look cool. That's such a mistake. It is so worth, I mean, okay, yeah, you can get away with it. Like, again, if everything else in the show was great, we probably wouldn't complain about the fight scenes as much. We'd be like, you know what, they did everything else great, whatever. But you know, if you want to be viewed with respect, you got to put a little bit of authenticity into it. You need to really at least be consistent, like you were saying here. Thank you, Union Jack. Oh my gosh, I'm that far behind. Okay, we are skipping. I'm going to try and only mention the people I have not read anything from. Cariel Branson. Oh, that wasn't for me. That was for Big Snack. There you go, Big Snack. That's a message for you. Going down. King Akim, or is it King Takim? It's all just intellectual property appropriation. This isn't Wheel of Time. It's the show writer's vision of Wheel of Time. Why? Why couldn't they just adapt the thing, then do the thing? I don't know. It is a mystery to me. And I know that we're not the only ones who think this. Hollywood is not full of people. Like, I know I've talked about it before on my streams, but it was enlightening to get the contact that I got with Netflix and to hear the inside stories of people who are really fighting for legitimately faithful adaptations and the pressures that they are put under to not do that. I mean, I imagine it must be really hard in cases like this, Wheel of Time. I'm sure that there were people, I mean, imagine if you get somebody who wants to make big changes, but they're the one who's in charge. I have a feeling that's what we've got going on with Wheel of Time. But I do know that there are people in Hollywood who do want those faithful adaptations, and they're getting pushback that they don't have the ability to push back at the pushback, if that makes sense. So it's made me a little bit more conscientious of that and like, okay, maybe you don't know what's going on. But in this case, I'm sorry, but Rafe kind of outed himself from the quotes that people have shared with me, things that he has said in interviews. He does not really respect the fandom. You do not insult the fans of the book and say, oh yeah, well, I'm going to change it and you're going to hate it even more. Haha. Like, you're riding for a fall, mister. Okay, let's see. Scrolling down. Tador, $5 to help you keep the videos and to hopefully assuage some of the torture. Thank you. It does assuage the torture. It makes me go, oh, I'm not just doing this for nothing. But no, you guys, I enjoy talking about this stuff. Like, I don't get tired of talking about stories, but the money certainly helps. Andrew Rose, T. Akim. Oh, that's not for me. There you go, T. Akim. That is it for you. Okay, I'm gonna go all in. Okay, Kiriel Branson, $10. Thank you very much. And no message, just $10. Well, thank you very much. I hope I said your name right, Kiriel Branson. That's a cool name. I don't know if you made it up or if it's real, but if it's real, you got a lucky good. You were lucky enough to get a good name. Belle Moiraine. I hated it before the first shot. The opening monologue broke lore and demonstrated rabid sexism. Yes, it's amazing to me. Sorry. When people close doors in this house, it rattles my door. My door does not have a lot of cushion on it. No, you are right about that. It was really shocking to me that just right out of the gates, they were going to do something like that. Like, we don't know if it's a man or a woman. Like, just that, I was like, ah. The problems that creates in the conflict of the story. Just kill Rand. Kill him. And then wait for a girl. That's what you should do. Let's see. Here's a message for me. BSR says, good to see you live streaming. Well, thank you. I'm going to do this again tomorrow, by the way, everybody, just so you know. I'm going to do this again tomorrow. Episode... Or maybe I should wait for next week. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I wait for next week? I was going to do it tomorrow to get episode 5 and 6 done. So that way, when episode 7 comes out, I can do a live stream on Sunday and just do that. So what do you guys think of that? Costco doesn't franchise. Well, whoever it was that he talked to, it was a local Costco here in Arizona, and they got to do it. So I would assume that means that there's somebody there who gets to make decisions about what's on the floor and what's not. So I could have sworn they franchise, but I don't know everything. So thank you. I've learned something today. Let's see. Wolfman Dan, thank you. Thanks for the shout out. Hearing your insights and story on publishing and getting an agent, etc. It is excellent advice that is useful for all of us. Thanks again. And thank you for the $20. Very generous. So, just so you guys know, those of you who are aspiring writers yourselves, okay, whether you like Brandon Sanderson's books or not, his lectures are very good. Listen to them. And if you haven't, there is one thing that he talks about at the beginning of his lectures, and that is the rate of success in publishing, because you are going to be told this in school. Every creative writing class I took, they had to give us this big lecture about like, oh, you know, all of you in here want to be published writers, but guess what? Pretty much all of you aren't going to be. You're not going to make it. That is not for lack of trying, or sorry, that is true for lack of trying. That's what I was trying to say there. Most people who are willing to go through the work of editing and rewriting actually do succeed. So when they say most of you aren't going to be published, that's not like these are people who spend decades writing and rewriting and rewriting and really trying their hardest to publish or to be accepted by one of the big 5 publishers. That's not the case. And Brandon Sanderson reiterates this. This is true. This is something I believed when I was in school, and it took getting out and being involved in the publishing world, and I worked for one of the big 5. You learn that that's not how it is. Anybody who wants to be a writer, I think you can be cultivated into a good writer, but it takes work, and it takes a willingness to put something out there and let people do what I do to this show and not be hurt by it, because this is not somebody saying your ideas are trash, they're terrible. This is somebody who wants your story to be better and wants it to be improved, and if you can take what they say and learn from it, this is why I explain my reasoning behind a lot of the critiques that I make, is because I'm hoping that people hear this and learn from it. I'm hoping that a lot of people in Hollywood maybe do. Yeah, so going through the work of rewrites, it's arduous, it is painful, and it can take a long time. Even when your work gets accepted by one of the big 5, it's like a 2-year process before your book actually gets to print, like is on shelves. So you could spend years writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, and then it gets to the publisher and they're like, great, we've accepted your manuscript. We're going to put it through our own process of editing, which is like at least 3 phases of editing, but probably closer to 5 until it's right, and then they will publish it. And that takes about 2 years, sometimes more, sometimes less. Oh, and gosh, we should maybe do a whole thing about the publishing industry, because there are horror stories. Like I am recommending more often than not to people to self-publish first. Like do that first. And if you end up because their big 5 is not going to help you much more than if you self-publish at this point. And I think a lot of the big 5 are losing some of their credit at this point. Like people are just bored with what they're publishing and turning now to indie published books, so self-published books. But go through the process of proper editing. Get as many eyeballs on your manuscript and get it really well cleaned up. Like that's the biggest complaint about self-published works, is that it feels rough. It doesn't feel like your characters and your arcs are distilled. You know, your language is, you know, it's a bit rough in some places. Get it past that point. Really put in the work. And like I said, like 5 rounds of edits, and at least 2 rounds of proofreading, because nothing's worse than finding a stupid proofreading error in a final printed book. That's a pain in the butt. But anyway, we can talk about that other stuff. Anyway, thank you, Wolfman Dan. Tanis 704, a surprisingly enjoy. There's some typos there. That's okay. A surprisingly enjoyable adaptation was the new Spring and Eye of the World graphic novels. I've heard about them. I've seen actually a couple of frames of them, but I have not read them myself, and I've heard good things about them as well. Arconlight, LMFAO, is that Savannah? I don't know who we're talking about. I'm sorry. Going down. Oh yes, sorry, now I know who you're talking about, in the waste. Yes, I think that's who that was supposed to be. Sorry, I had to brain fart for a second. This is one of those situations where I never read her name, and so reading it, it's like an alien word to me, and then I have to say it to myself in my head, and then I go, oh wait, I know that sound. It's weird. I don't know why brains work like that. It's a mystery. Did you guys hear about the dire wolves being cloned? How cool is that? And scary, but still cool. If you haven't heard about it, Google it. Kiriel Branson, thank you for the tip, $2. I could not figure out how to do a message. Oh, I'm sorry. There must be like a money heart thanks button somewhere. I don't know how it works. There must be some way to, I'm sure. Well, then you know, however it is, you know it now. So good job. However, let me know how it is. I don't know how it is. Okay, skipping down. Taydor, $5. Thank you. I want to thank you for putting words to the unformed thoughts I have about this show. Funding more torture. Nice. Thank you. Well, you know, it's not torture when I get to have fun conversations with people about it, because, you know, I wouldn't say this is a misery loves company situation. It's more like catharsis. It's like, am I the only one who feels like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills? You're not. Folks, there are major issues with this show. It is mostly in the writing, and it's very sad. It's very sad. And as an adaptation, it is not. It is a fan fiction. I think it's undisputable at this point. Let's see. Glue Guns and Roses. Oh, nice. I like that name, Glue Guns and Roses. That's a good one. Are you still working as an editor for TV writers? Indie film, like occasionally, but not really. No. I have not been editing a whole lot for the last 2 years because I've been doing, I've been helping my sister and her husband with their kids. So my sister's in medical school, and her husband has just got a big business started up and running. And I'm taking care of their kids twice a day now. We actually all lived together for a while because the baby was very sick and was up all night for a year and a half about. She's all well now. Oh my gosh, she is forming sentences, like 3, sometimes 4-word sentences. It's crazy. It's like it is like watching this alien life form develop. Like, I don't know why aliens are on my mind right now, but no, I don't edit for TV writers except the occasional indie person, and that's more like once a year, and it's just a small thing. It's not big. Oh my gosh, I think I'm almost caught up. That's insane. Here we go. Kyle Franzen. Oh, that's not even a message for me. Let's go back a bit. Oh, Praterson, Brando Sando recently talked about the problem with self-pub now is that you have to spend way more money on ads, and that really eats into the you get to keep most of the money part. It's not about that. It used to be, but he's right. A lot of money is going to have to be spent on marketing anyway. I think your best bet is to go into this with the expectation that you're going to be walking around a lot to show people your work. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Oh shoot, his book is not in this room. A friend of mine has got some indie published work, and he goes to a lot of conventions, like anime conventions and Comic-Cons and things like that, selling fantasy and science fiction. And he gets really beautiful artwork on his covers. And I feel like that's not a bad way to get to meet people, but get your books into like indie stores, but or not indie stores, independent bookstores, because you're not going to be able to get into like Bookman's, not Bookman's, what is it? Barnes and Noble, unless you have got a really high quality product. But do what you can to get an audience, as big an audience as you can. Start a YouTube channel. Start a YouTube channel talking about stories that are like yours, similar to yours, and critique them or talk about what you liked about them, things that you would have done differently. Show people that do what I'm doing to some degree, but make it your own, and then tell people about your book. I got on my videos, I've got some of them have like 10,000 views. That's if even 1% of people buy my book, that's how much is that? Is that 100 people? Whatever. Either way, that's probably more than you would sell going door to door or standing on a corner with your, table with your book and whatnot. Uh, do whatever you can to get people to know you and become invested in you and like the storytelling that you do. I think that's probably good advice. But get somebody who has a name to endorse your book. I think it's networking. It's tough because a lot of writers are very introverted. Like I know that I talk a lot here, but I'm the quiet one in my family. And I don't mean like everybody talks a lot. I mean that this is more talking than I do ever in like this is more talking than I do in a year to my camera here in a live stream. Like I think people who are into storytelling, they're taking words and turning them into pictures. They don't have time to say stuff. Or if they're watching stories, they're thinking about them and what they did and like, wow, that was a great arc for this character. It was so emotional. Why was it so emotional? And you're going through that stuff in your head. You don't usually talk about that stuff with people unless you're in a class. And by the way, this is me saying I never took a single college class, not even at the master's level in creative writing, that was better than what you find on YouTube nowadays. I don't know, maybe universities have upped their game, but I highly doubt it. You can find really good video essays and lectures on YouTube that will teach you how to write, and they will do it at a higher level than what you get in the university. I'm telling you, I was in high level creative writing classes. Like this is advanced and intermediate, not beginner, and you were still getting the same beginner lessons. It's really sad that I don't think universities realize that people who are in the intermediate level would have gotten some of these lessons in their intro to creative writing classes. You should not be doing that at intermediate level, let alone the advanced levels. Like especially not in like 300 level classes, you should not be doing intro level stuff. But so if you want to be a writer, I think the best way is to learn by reading a lot, yes, examining stories critically, going online and watching some good video essays and lectures about creative writing, really taking it to heart, and practicing writing and sharing your work. Get feedback on your work. Whether it's from somebody who's never read critically a book before and you just like, hey, I want to hear what you think. Or if it's somebody who does have experience. There are a lot of people who want to share their work with other people in a critique setting. Find those people. You will get so good at writing just from taking other people's work or critiques and applying them. And you can't get those without going out and doing it. Anyway, okay, Trip. By the way, Sword and Pen, Prophet says hi. Oh, hello to Prophet of the Dragon. Yes. Let's see. Scott 2. How did Rand's gay ancestor have descendants? For $2. Thank you very much for that, by the way, Scott. I don't know. Maybe he's bisexual. Maybe there's a polyamory thing going on. Maybe that relationship ended and there was a woman who came along. I don't know. But, in the writers, what I perceive to be their mentality, if you just do nothing, nobody will notice. All aboard Traveling Crew. Sorry, this is my only account. The Stormlight Archive is my favorite series. The Expanse is a great example of a show that wasn't exactly the book, but was faithful to the book. There you go. Look, most people just want it to be faithful to the themes and the characters. And I have a book on faithful, or not a book. I have a video on faithful adaptation and what I think a faithful adaptation is. And it leaves plenty of room for change and creativity. As a matter of fact, it calls for it in many cases, because no, you cannot translate everything from a book to a screen, especially if it's a big fat book and you're not going to do like a big long series. You're going to have to make some cuts and you're going to have to do some truncation, and that has to happen. You're going to have to add things in order to smooth out the cutting that had to be done. Nobody expects it to be line for line. But yeah, as long as it's faithful to the spirit of the book, the themes, the characters, the world building, I think I say it pretty well in that that video. Well, not pretty well. I listened to that video now and I'm like, why am I so repetitive? But, you know, at some point you just have to put it out there and be like, I can't record this again. Oh, he's scrolling down, scrolling down. So sorry, people. Trying to get ahead here. Oh my gosh. Whew, here we go. Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I finally got caught up. Oh, that's not for me. I don't know why I always keep clicking on so Alex Shamanek, that's for you. Andrew Rose says, lots of gay dudes have kids, yo. This is true. Well, but biological? I don't think so. Unless their technology was as far advanced as we are apparently today, where we are creating, what do they call the direwolves? I think they did direwolves, and they've done woolly mice, and they've done, what was the other one? It was a Mexican red wolf, or just a red wolf. Pretty cool. We are about to embark on a very interesting chapter in science and history. I can't wait for mammoths. That's going to be so badass. Anyway. Glue Guns and Roses again says, I think you are correct. Daniel Green sounds familiar. You must not be talking to me. Let's go back. It seems like there would be some type of app or service for that. Like there are people you can pay to review essays for college and job resumes. I must be missing stuff. Was it just me talking about, oh, here we go. All right, sorry, I was going back looking at Glue Guns and Roses thing, trying to figure out what you're talking about. Evans, I know there was a YouTuber who talked about self-publishing fantasy books once a week. I can't remember his name, but he's a big channel, so that makes sense. Yeah, that is Daniel Green. He features, I think in his fantasy news segment, he talks about, he takes some time to promote other people's books, which I think good for him. That's great. Like that helps a lot. Just getting your name out there, it means a lot, and he's got a very big audience. Tador, I suppose if Agenor could make Fades and Trollocs, they could give Gay Rand a kid. Okay. Alex Shamanek, no technology after the breaking. Oh yeah, that's right, and that took place after the breaking, didn't it? It did, so that, I guess that theory's out the window. Faye Dayon, I want to see the Tasmanian tiger brought back. The Tasmanian tiger would be crazy. But yeah, I think the mammoth would still be the coolest of all. It's such a huge animal, and that's got to be why I would think somebody's gonna do dinosaur, right? I don't know. Somebody should, just to do it. Dowolf, simultaneously, tech for gay men to have biological children and horse-drawn carriages is definitely a path through the tech tree. All right, yeah, I think that previous comment talking about all of the breaking ending technology is more accurate. Like that's, yeah, that put the kibosh on the theory. Trip, the problem isn't really so much that Rand has a gay ancestor, but that they just threw that in there without any explanation for how he is then Rand's ancestor. Yeah, that's true. Tador's got something there for Dowolf. Nugsy Bowls. Oh, nice profile picture. I think that's the thing that infuriates me more than either other about the show is the way they disrespect the themes of the series. Yep. A theme is really the soul of your story. That is the core of what your story is doing. Most stories are tailored to a specific theme. I've heard several times many of the themes of the Wheel of Time, and I feel like you need to be in Rand's head a lot more in order to portray what some of those themes are. And we just neglect him. But then we get an episode like this where we get him and everybody loves it. Everybody liked the episode closest to the book, folks. Don't know how else to be clearer about what would work and what wouldn't. This should be like the example. Corey Gray, I always say that I watch an adaptation to see those big moments and characters and their arcs brought to life, and this show isn't great about giving us them as we envisioned. Yeah. Even how somebody else envisions them. So for me, this scene here, I did not imagine it like this. This is better than what I imagined. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes other people have a better imagination than you do. that can happen, and I like seeing that. What was it, the scene in that we should have had at this finale of season 2, which is the end of book 2, the big battle in the sky. I wanted to see that. Okay, no, that's not the example I was trying to bring to mind here. I was trying to bring to mind the battle in Tyr when he goes for Kalendor, the retrieval of Kalendor, because it's in Tyr and then it gets to the dream world. And for me, reading that, it became almost cerebral and I wasn't following it. And I had to read it several times just to make sure I understood what was happening. But I would have loved to have seen somebody who knew it well and thought of a way to portray it visually so that I could see somebody else's vision of it and have a clearer physical image in my mind of what happened. But we didn't get to see it, did we? I don't know if we're going to. I don't know if the show will last that long. All right, we're gonna do a couple more and then we're gonna call it quits because 2 hours, 40 minutes is a long way for me to go. All right, here we go. So I'm going to do Donald Gooch. Hey, y'all, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to support SMP. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me. Because, yeah, I definitely could use some boosting in the algorithm. I've added this little thing. Thank you for reminding me to do that. Play History says, one big thing that I caught on was the fact that the Tinkers looked at the spear and said, we can use that to get food, but they're strict pacifists. They look, okay, yeah, when they were in the, all right, I remember. Are you talking about in the show? Because, yeah, they looked at it and said, we can use that to get food. Don't want to pick up the sword. We'll use the spear. I mean, in my opinion, and I know I put it in my last video, you can use a sword to get food too. I did throw in that Ladyhawk example. You just have to throw it proper. It's a lot harder than throwing a spear, though. Yeah, okay, it's not as practical as a spear, but either way, I will say this, it's a bit weak. It is a bit weak to say, like, okay, the spear you catch food with, the sword you can't. It's harder, but it's still possible. That's a whole different subject for debate. Alex Shamanek. They're doing the mammoth now. Oh, really? They're definitely moved on to the mammoth? I thought that they were trying to get the red wolf thing finished. I don't know if they're going to do that. Alex Shamanek, only a matter of time for the Tasmanian tiger. Let's see. Amanda, what part of Lord of Chaos have you made it to? Not far, like as in the first chapter. When I say that this editing for this show takes up all my time, I really do mean that. I can't listen to the book while I am editing because I have to be listening to what I'm editing, and oftentimes I'm trying to listen to stuff while I do stuff and I can't. It's just impossible. So what I need is to be able to sit back from this show and then continue with Lord of Chaos. Either way, I don't think that they're far enough into the story where I need to know what happens in Lord of Chaos to be able to critique what they're doing in the show, which is a bit sad. King Takim or Takim, look at Iron Man. There's a good adaptation. They just did the thing. Rich guy gets hurt by his own product, becomes superhero. Change the conflict. He gets hurt in what? It's still Iron Man adaptation. The themes are still this. I mean, I don't know what the origin of Iron Man is, but if they stuck to the theme and just changed how he got hurt, that's what it sounds like, or where he got hurt, then yeah, it seems like they still have done that. I'm guessing they got his personality pretty spot on because it was very distinct personality, and I could see why he would be a favorite. Philip Griesel, has no one learned from Jurassic Park? That's the question. Mule, they should bring back TV and movie writers that know advanced techniques like the concept of cause and effect. Yeah, this show is not great at that. Scott, too, I think we have a moral duty to bring back animals that humans had a significant hand in wiping out. That is apparently the goal of Colossus, or Colossal. That's the name of the company that is doing all of this cloning. It's one specific company. And I did, after I heard that this was done, I had to do a deep dive a little bit into them. And they're basically like, they're not, oh, we're going to bring back these ancient creatures that are extinct. They want to preserve, what is it called? not extinct, but endangered species, or creatures that have been extinct because of human impact. Like that's their first priority, but they're being very cautious about it. It's a very interesting business that is doing this, and they're doing it kind of outside of academia, and that's why they've made all this progress. It's a very interesting story. Like I was just totally fascinated. I wanted to hear more, but I had to do this stupid editing stuff. Sorry to call it stupid. It feels stupid when you're critiquing a show like this, going like, why do I have to say so much about all the mistakes in this show? Because there are so many. Tador, the people working on the dire wolves really need to go watch Jurassic Park again. Yes. Demigod, mammoths are much, much easier than dinosaurs. 1,000-year-old frozen DNA versus 60 million-year-old. Where the hell do you find that DNA? Yeah. And I think they've said that. I think I seem to recall actually that dinosaurs are like, they pretty much think they're not going to be able to do it. And mammoths have not been extinct for that long, apparently, which is crazy to think about. Trip. Someone hasn't watched Fortitude if you want mammoths back. I have not seen Fortitude. I don't know what that is. Donald Gooch. They are ashamed of the primary themes of the Wheel of Time series. Possibly because it does discuss the differences in men and women, and how they just operate in two totally different ways, and the lesson being that they need to kind of accept each other the way that they are and work together in order for everything to work as a whole. And that is definitely considered a controversial take today. So I could see that yeah, they're shy about getting into that. Blue Feather Ephemera. The Sword and the Pen Reflections. I don't like anime at all, but recently found an exception. How do I send you a recommendation to watch if that place is here? It's called Odd Taxi. That's interesting. I've never heard of Odd Taxi. I'll write it down here. ODD. I actually gave Frieren a try. And I can see why people like that show. It's got great music, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of the character design. I won't say the animation, but the character design I'm not a fan of. But I see why people really like that show. It's not as novel to me because I've already seen Natsume, which is a show that does what Frieren does, except I would say almost, in my opinion, does it better. But that might just be because it's been around a lot longer. There are way more episodes, but it's called Iyashike. Iyashike anime is anime that has the effect of causing healing. And it's a storytelling type that brings about healing. Imagine all the quiet parts of a Ghibli movie. There's something that just feels peaceful, and it makes you feel peaceful, healing. And that's what Natsume is. That's all that. It's about a boy in the foster care system, basically, and he can see, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically Shinto, considered not malevolent exactly, but certainly not benevolent, kind of like demons. And he's the only one who can see them. Anyway, I could go on about that show. I really liked it. It's so good. And they recently put out a 9th season. I believe it was season 9. And or maybe it's 7. I don't know. It's a season that they have not had an episode in 9 years, and then they suddenly put out new episodes, and they were just as good as the old ones. So I was impressed. But yeah, I used to watch that show to help me fall asleep because it was just so relaxing and enjoyable. Guns N' Roses. There have been adaptations not loyal to source material, but this show isn't even a good show. Every season seems like the start over. Season 1 ends and season 2 starts in a different show. Yeah, it is doing that. Well, they kind of have to, because they sort of have to retcon themselves. Like, Loyal could not be killed at the end of season 1. They had to bring him back. Anyway, and that's just a small example of the many. Alex Shamanek, do we have Tasmanian tiger DNA? Yes, we do. We have a video of the last one, so we might have its body. This company is the first to have developed a process for collecting DNA that they can use for cloning, or DNA editing, that does not involve killing the animal. They can do it from blood, which is also unique. Like, I guess nobody's really been able to do this before, but they can collect DNA in such a way that it does not harm the animal. It's just like taking blood from them, or it is just taking blood from them. Drake Romor, I hope I said that right, been searching for it online, but do you remember reading about a ter'angreal that detects male channelers in TV or the Tower? Oh, in Tarvalon or the Tower. A ter'angreal that detects male channelers. No, in the books? Feels like something that the Reds would have. I can't recall one. Does anybody else know what he's talking about? J.S. Brad's one. Summit. True about Jurassic in the show. All right. Taydor has something for Summit. Scott 2 says, I thought Sarkinen was a seed when it was revealed as Sarkinen. I was pissed. Sarkarnan. I know that they've switched names for these items and switched functions. It's confusing to me. I'm not sure. I have not figured that out myself. And honestly, I don't care to figure out what the show did, because in the grand scheme of things, there are so many other problems. I'll wait until that becomes a major problem, before I comment on it, which is probably going to happen in this season, I'm guessing. Play history. How much of a hack do you have to be to go for the easy, cheap, production-wise visual of the battle in the sky? They effed that up so bad. I mean, they must have blown their budget on other stuff. Like, maybe the battle in Falm itself, like with all the explosions and whatnot, maybe that was too expensive to do, and they're like, oh, having a battle in the sky, that would have been too much. But they had a different ending anyway. It wasn't Rand versus a Sammael. It wasn't Titans in the sky. So I don't think that they planned to do it anyway. I don't know, like, Big snack. All right, I really have to narrow this down now, because we're going almost into the third hour here. Well, we are in the third hour. Big snack. Maybe Rand's ancestor channels his ancestors' bun into Egwene's ancestors' oven. I don't know. Okay, I'll let you guys read the rest of that one. I was going way off. Here's one I haven't read from Jimmy Dobler or Dobler. Pretty sure the spear line is saying that you can hunt with the spear better than you can the sword, which is true. Granted, part of that is that spears are generally longer than the show spears, but yeah, this is true. Let's see. Demi Gord says red wolves still exist. Yes, they do, but they are endangered. And that's what Colossal was saying, that they wanted to help endangered species from going out, from becoming extinct, basically. So they can create genetic diversity, which is a big problem. If you only have like 5 red wolves, for example, well, you got those 5 mating with each other, you're going to have very unhealthy wolves, because there is not enough genetic diversity. You need more wolves with more variants in their DNA in order to produce healthy wolves going forward. And they're saying, we could do that. We could make 100 wolves for you with enough genetic difference that they will all have healthy babies. You're not going to get, like, deformities and vulnerabilities and, like hip dysplasia and stuff. This is why mutts in the dog world are typically healthier than purebreds. Trip. Did they learn nothing? Oh my gosh, we're still on that? Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Skipping. Fadion says, I still say Ep 4 was a troll ep. See what they could have done if we did this faithfully instead of what we have been doing all along. Maybe. It's hard to tell what the intentions were. I mean, this was the most visually spectacular episode that they have done, and it was also the most visually creative. The things that they did with even Moiraine's visions, where you had the camera on a rig so that you start out upside down and then end up upside down again. Like, this was creative filming, and it looked beautiful. They really put a lot of effort into this one. Why not do it as it was in the books? And which is more spectacular. Like when we see what they choose to do in the show, that diverges from what was in the books, they take the less spectacular route. In this case, it seems like they didn't do that. They're like, let's do the spectacular thing that the books did, and they did it quite well. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe their budget called for one really awesome. I don't know. I have no clue what finale they are going for in this season. Like, to me, which book are they going to end on? Who knows? I mean, it's going to be, I think, Moiraine taking out Lanfear, but I don't know. All right, I'm just gonna do a few more. All right, let's do 4 more, no matter what they are. Okay, so I'm skipping way down to the bottom, and I'll pick ones that I don't recognize the names of. I recognize that name and that name and that name. Gamehead. Wasn't there a fake weave Moghedien was trying to teach Elaine and company? A fake weave Moghedien? You mean in the books? Was that... I'm trying to remember from when she was in disguise. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I was in Alaska when I read those bits, and there was a lot going on while I was up there, so I'm sorry. If folks remember, let me know. All right. So that was 1. So we got 3 more. Looking for another name I don't recognize, but I don't see any. So we're going to just pick the next one, and it is Tador. They have specified the male-female parts of the one power in the show. Unfortunately, it appears they can see each other's weaves. Yeah, there are specific rules to those. There are specific rules based on whether you are a man or a woman and you are channeling, like, because you're accessing different halves of the one power and there are different ways to channel. Okay, gosh, I'm sorry, but Rand's advice to Moiraine was bizarre to me. Why did he tell her to fight it? That's not how women channel. So I'm really confused about what they are doing here. This is really strange. It has nothing to do with the books. It is the opposite of what should be in the books. So I cannot even guess what they're planning to do with this. But yeah, it has to do with this, because it's the first time we hear saidin and saidar are totally different. And she makes that distinction in that conversation, saying, you know, like, you don't fight when I surrender to saidin. Do I have it backwards? No, I don't. Either way, you do not, when you are a woman, you do not fight the one power, you surrender to it. And he says, well, if I don't fight it, it'll just go out of control. Like, it's going to destroy everything. So I have to fight it all the time. And then he tells her to fight it. Like, he's an expert and knows. So I don't know what they're trying to say here. It's very bizarre to me. Anyway, okay, so that was 2, wasn't it? Yeah, 2 more. Let's see who we're going to do. Here's one I haven't done. Amanda, Amagi is teaching them a weave to give them headaches under the pretense of teaching the girls to see men's weaves. What scene does that happen in? Why am I not remembering this? I'm not remembering this scene. That's crazy. Okay, I'm clicking one more. Tador. That scene was them showing the difference between male and female channeling. I thought that was when Elaine and Egwene, and I think Nynaeve was there, went to Rand, and this is when they were in Tyr, and they're like, hey, why don't you channel, and we'll watch what you channel and see what we're doing. And he starts channeling, and they're like, start channeling. He's like, I'm channeling. And they can't detect it, and then he, like, lifts them up to prove to them that he's channeling, and they're like, holy crap. So, but then when they channel, he notices that he can sense something. That to me was a couple of indications there. First of all, that he was way stronger than they were, but also too, that that was like a solidification that they cannot see each other's, they cannot see each other's weaves. They cannot see each other channeling. There's a major difference between the two. And it's basically insurmountable. I have not reached a point in the books where it has been exposed, at least I can't recall it, it's been exposed that all men can see women channeling. But I have reached that point where Rand has has become aware that he can sense when a woman is channeling. Very faintly. Goosebumps, that's what it was. Okay, we're doing 2 more now. 2 more. Play history. Good night to you. Hope to catch a stream again soon. Thank you. Good night to you too. That was a good one for me to click on. I just randomly clicked the first thing that I could see. Let's see. Kiriel Branson says, it is definitely farther in the books. Oh, you guys must be talking about the stuff. Yeah, surrendering to Sidene is a good way to die. Yeah. Anyway, okay, I think we got that. All right, so we're gonna call quits here. Blue Feather Ephemeral, congratulations, you are the last so featured text or message, whatever. Thank you very much. Great stream, Amber. Thanks and good night. And thank you to all of you guys too. Seriously, this was fun, and I'm going to do this. I plan to do this again tomorrow. I know that I will be doing. I'm planning to do a live stream. It's somewhere on the White Cloaks channel or Prophet of the Dragon. I don't know. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. somebody's time. I don't remember which time. They're going to do something in the morning, and I'm going to try and jump in on that because I had some. It was suggested by one of my patrons to do some stuff, some fun stuff for the finale of this season, and so I wanted to go on there and talk about that with those guys. So we'll go do that. But tomorrow night, I plan to do this again. So maybe it probably won't be 3 hours long like this was, but we'll do something and have some fun. But anyway, just wanted to say big special thank you to all of you guys. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't, and if you're feeling super generous. You guys were super generous, so thank you for the tips. It's much appreciated and it helps. My dog needs eye surgery, so I'm saving up for that right now. Thank you and good night. I hope you all sleep well. And tomorrow, oh, here we go. Trip says 10 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Mountain time, 10 a.m. Arizona time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That is the thing happening, I believe, over on, is it the White Cloaks channel? Probably. Yeah, but anyway, so that is that. Otherwise, I plan to be here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Arizona time, which I guess is the same as Pacific time. So there you go. That's it. Good night. I gotta figure out how to end this stream. How do I do it? It's been so long. Oh, that's how. Yes, end.